Hello and welcome to episode 46 of In PS We Trust, a PlayStation podcast. My name's Davey, and joined with me, as always, is the fine wine himself, Philip Hoy.
What's up?
And my brother from another mother, the Barry to my Burton, Spencer Davis.
Let's get it, boys.
Let's get it indeed. So we are here at episode 46. We're recording on a Monday, guys. We're actually recording way later than we normally would do. And the reason for that, and the reason why this episode has gone up later than it always does, because we're pretty careful to always hit the Wednesday release. But unfortunately, I came down with an illness. I lost my voice, and as I do carry the show, as I am the star of the show, self-proclaimed, we can't be having that. So we delayed it for a couple of days so I could get better, and we could all be on top form for today. So we have got an amazing episode lined up for you today. We got a whole slate of news, and it turns out that seeing as we've gone 2 weeks and a few days, we got stacks and stacks of it. So we've got loads and loads of news to go through, and we've got two full topics. Of course, PlayStation Plus had its relaunch. It's landed for us in the UK and Europe, so we're going to be discussing that and our thoughts and if we're taking up on the new service. And we're also going to be discussing the news that Sucker Punch have stated that Infamous is not coming back and it's not being worked on by other developers. And we got a lot we're going to get into with that. But first, it's important to note something that happened on the last episode. Last episode, Spencer, some people in the audience think we did you dirty. Do you know what they could possibly be referencing here?
I know exactly what the fuck they're referencing, mate, and I think everyone does.
So, essentially, listeners, this is what happened. We did our predictions for the Summer Game Fest, and Spencer stated for as possible that Resident Evil 4 VR would be shown or would be announced. That was his thing. At the time, Phil, you and me took a stance on this. Do you remember what that stance was?
I think we both decided Spence was wrong. We ganged up a little bit, didn't we? We, sensed the weakness in the crowd, and we went for him.
Yeah, and to be fair, I thought we were right about this. So, what happened in that episode was Spencer enlisted the audience. He said, audience, write in, let us know, basically, that I'm right, and the guys have stitched me up. Following that, we had a few people reach out on Twitter, and they started calling me out and saying that I was wrong and that how harsh it was that I picked on Spencer and that he was rightfully deserving of these shots to give out. So I put a poll out on Twitter. The poll backfired. All right, it was catastrophically bad for me. I think it went like 73 in favor of Spence to 27 on my side. I chalk that up though to not being the true public perception. You know, like when they do like a little poll, like an exit poll on like an election, and it doesn't result in anything. I think it was more of that.
And of course, Spencer's got that mad VPN technology at his house, hasn't he? So he keeps just switching it up, putting in an extra vote. That's probably how he won.
Probably the same way that you keep winning these spoiler casts from the past, Phil. That's what I reckon. But moving on from that conspiracy theory, I still put it out to the audience. We put it out to the audience to write in. So I think it's only important that we get the fan mail out the way, and then Phil, I suppose, as the impartial judge for this, I'll leave the fate over to yourself and Spencer. You can hash it out between yourselves. I'll totally stay out of it. But here's what the fans wrote in. We had 4 different sets of mail here, okay? So we'll start with the first one. So this is from iMade. So iMade wrote in, I think he's from the Middle East. So he says, hi guys, it's iMade here. I've been listening a long time, long enough to know Spencer is wrong on this one. He meant RE4 Oculus version. Davey and Phil, you guys know it. And as the voice of reason on the podcast, I know what Davey said is right. Thanks to the great content. Kind regards, I made this up.
I was literally going to say to you, I made, what, that account? That email?
I think you're being a bit harsh on our audience there for that one, but we'll move it on. You can save your conspiracy theories for later. So, This is a Fake wrote in, and he said, fuck Spencer. Yours faithfully, This is a Fake. So, I mean, I think it's a bit harsh. This is a Fake, I think that's a bit harsh. But, okay. The next one said, good evening. Great start. Spence is a nice boy, but he's wrong on this one. I'm sorry for how he's turned out. Sincerely, Spencer's mum. I can't believe she wrote in. I'm surprised she listens to the show, but thank you, Liz. Thanks for writing in. He is a great lad.
She's always DMing me for autographs and photos. So she's a long-time listener. I can confirm that.
Oh, well, there you go. And it's not your fault how he's turned out, Liz. I'm sure it wasn't your upbringing there. And finally, Ben wrote in, "Phil's a fine wine I want to drink up." From Ben Dover. Okay, it's a bit of a, I don't know how that snuck in there, that one, but there we go. So those are the facts out here, Phil. So we got three different fan mails here from Aime, Disafake, and Spence's own mother versus the poll and the Twitter reaction. Where are you coming down on this one? And then we'll hand it over to Spencer to see if he's seen any sort of reason on this.
Well, let's first just cover that I'm getting fan mail when it's completely unrelated to what we asked people to write in about. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate any kind of fan mail. Very positive, that one, wasn't it?
The audience loves you, Phil. I don't know what else to say about it, you know? I think the thing about it is, I think the reason why the audience respect you so much is because I know that you're going to choose the right outcome on this. And I think you're on the right side of history with this one, Phil. I think the audience know that too.
Definitely. And who am I to go against our audience? You know, my loyal supporters. They've all gone against Spencer. Who am I to then go against them? They're 100% right in this. I've said many times, and in many conversations throughout the 2 weeks that we've been off, people have been coming up to me in the street and they've been like, "Phil, you're right. Let me just shake your hand." I was only at Wimbledon on the weekend, and Rafa Nadal came up to me and he was like, "I'm a massive fan of your podcast, boys," obviously in a Spanish accent. And he says, "That's Spencer. Cut him. Potato Chief. Bring him back."
Nadal, I mean, he's a champion. He's a champion, but I don't know. That might be a bit harsh on this one, just for this take. So, any of this change your mind, Phil, or are you still very much on a case of this should not be allowed and Spencer's wrong?
Well, I think Spencer already knows he's wrong, because earlier in the conversation, guys, he texted us and he was like, "I've got a bottle of Fireball whiskey." So he knows he's drinking tonight.
Spencer, with your acceptance of guilt by buying shots, what is your evidence you want to bring to the table? Any closing thoughts before your judgment is sealed?
Yes, a few. Immediately, RE4 VR, if it wasn't shown, that doesn't mean I do shots, so that's not admission of guilt at all. It means fuck all. I bought that because I will be doing shots anyway, because I lose quick news every single episode. Thank you very much, boys, and I just wanted to do that. Secondly, these write-ins are a fucking farce. I'm fuming. I know for a fact Davey made those up on the spot. Those probably weren't even prepared. He literally just thought, you know what, this will be funny. Fuck it. He said we got 4 write-ins. I was like, no way, we never get fan write-ins. Now I know why. Because they're farces. It's bullshit.
Spencer, I see what you're saying here. And I think because of that, because of the evidence you brought to the table, I think it is just, and I don't want to diminish what the fans have said. And so because of that, I'll allow you to have one of your shots. Not saying that you get something right. I'll just give you a mercy shot. Because I feel like you're just getting battered down over this. And I feel like I don't want to cause Spencergate here. There's already people starting, the hashtag Spencergate. I don't want that to go any further. So I'll give you a mercy shot. It's like a peace offering. Like a kind of bribe. But I never want to hear about it again. It's like kind of like, not like an NDA. You know, what's the thing where like they settle out of court, right? And somebody would come up and they'd be like, yeah, he did, he did crash through my fence and destroy, my cat and everything's fucked. And then some guy comes up and he's like, I'll give you 10 grand so we don't have to go to court. And they'd be like, yeah, that's totally fine by me. I'll accept that and move on. Sign this disclosure so you never mention it again. Are you happy with that peace offering?
Some hush money, if you will.
Hush money, yeah.
Lads, I'll quit the show. I'm deserved 2 shots.
Okay, I think the only way to settle this is to go on your phone and ask Siri, yes or no. Yes, you get your shots. No, you don't. We'll leave it up to God. The rest of it is up to God now. I've said my piece. The audience have said we got both sides split. It's like the Brexit vote in here. We got both sides split, very much down the middle. It's now up to God.
No, we don't. No, we don't. We don't.
It's up to God now, Spencer.
It's not. It's not up to God.
Alexa, yes or no?
No, never.
No, never.
Bitch said never.
No, never. Oh my God, you can't get more clear than that. God has abandoned you, Spencer. The audience has abandoned you. God has abandoned you. Hashtag Spencergate is no more. It's blown out the water. You've lost out, my friend. That is the way the cookie is crumbled. Audience, if you've got any more objection to this, please write in pswetrust@gmail.com. And again, if you're in support of these decisions with God, with these emails that are obviously real, then again, write in. Let us know. It'd be interesting to hear. Now let's move the show on. So guys, we always start these episodes off with a question that I pull out of the ether. This question today, very serious. It could go in a lot of different ways, and I just want to know how your brain's going to take this one. The question is, if you could travel anywhere in time, where would you go? Now you can take one item with you. Just one. No loopholes in this. It can't be a bag full of stuff. One item. Now, if that item has several things that are part of that item together, I'll allow that. Say, for example, like, I don't know, you took a headset and it's got a wire that comes out of that. That's fine, you know? Just to give you some ideas here. Now, Spencer, we always come across to yourself first to start these off. Where are you going to go?
I feel like I know exactly. Well, I'll go with my gut reaction. I read this question earlier on today, and immediately I thought of what I would do. And it's something I wish would happen to me in real life, and this would be my way to do it. And that would be, I would get the winning numbers to the Set for Life lottery thing, which is basically they give you 10 grand every month for 30 years. So it's like winning the lottery, but a bit more responsible. And I would just go back to when that started, or whenever it was at its peak, where they'd always give you the same amount, I suppose. So back to when it started, and I'd just win, because I could go back in time to like years and years ago, but there are such great games coming out now. I've got good mates. I got you boys. I got the podcast. If I had the Set for Life, think of our production. Think of our edits. Think of our PCs. It'd be fantastic.
Would you still be our mates if you were that rich? I don't think you would.
No.
No.
Cut us straight away.
Not after the way I've been treated. Absolutely not. I'll tell you what, if I won that, if I'd done that, gone back in time with that, I'll tell you boys would be treating me a whole lot nicer. I'll tell you right now.
10 grand a month isn't that much, guys, before you start cutting your ties, Spence. So be very careful what you say.
I could have a job as well.
Oh, you wouldn't have a job. 10 grand a month. 10 grand
I
a month
wouldn't
for
have a job.
30 years. For 30
I wouldn't have a
years.
fucking job.
Oh, no way. I wouldn't do a goddamn thing. I think I'd unemploy half the country because I'd just be getting to do random shit for me. I'd be like, oh, can you just wipe my ass, please? I can't be bothered. And you could literally just get them to wipe your ass. And you could live off $1,000 or $2,000, right? Be relatively comfortable. Be all right. And then you got $8,000 just to waste on random elaborate stuff. You could be like, oh, I traveled here on a time machine. Now I'm going to just make it myself again. I'm just going to somehow find the way to make this thing that I stumbled upon again and go wherever I want with all my wealth that I've saved up.
So, Davey, you would live pretty much the same life. You would just have a lot more shit.
Yeah, I just do frivolous activities, I think. Things that I never would normally want to do, that I'd never think, how much could you pay somebody to do this thing for me? Right, that's just, that I don't really need done, but that would just be quite fun to see someone else do. And you could just pay them, whatever, and see what their asking price is. And you could do quite a lot with that, I reckon.
So you would take the Mario Balotelli kind of approach with money. So you would ride down the street in an open-top Cadillac, dressed as Santa, handing out money, just because you could.
I think I'd definitely be a man of the people. I'd be like Robin Hood, but I'm getting people to do really disgusting or like horrible or life-ending things for quite minimal amounts of money. So it would be quite an evil way of doing it, but still quite good. I like that answer, Spencer. That's a very practical approach. That is very, you're thinking about your future there. Quite like that. Nice one. What about yourself, Phil? Where would you take this one? Where would you go?
Well, my immediate thought wasn't money. Of course not. We've just come off the back of one of the best spoiler casts from the past. I'm going back to the dinosaurs, boys. That would be incredible. I've grown up loving dinosaurs since I was a little kid, right? I used to love Dino Riders. I used to love Dino Crisis. I had all the models. I know all the names of the dinosaurs. Imagine going back there. It would be off the chart crazy, man. And the item I would take, go back to the previous episode, I would take a health potion because I'd be invincible while I'm there. So T-Rex comes to me. I'll be like, all right, big boy. Boom! Health potion, back up. Done. It's never ending, you said in the last episode. So as many times as I wanted, I could start fights with dinosaurs. And then when you ask me in a future episode, what kind of animals would I be killing? Dinosaurs, because I could take them all on. Boom. 3 episodes reference right there.
I don't think we did agree that it was never ending, did we? I'm pretty sure we said on a night out you have to carry about, Davey said 4. I think 4 around your waist would be an appropriate amount. If you're in the if you're in the dinosaur age back then, I think you need a lot more than 4 if you want to survive, 12 hours? You're probably going to need a lot.
I did also say, the dinosaur age from Dino Crisis. So there's no T-Rexes or Velociraptors. So mainly it's vegetarian animals that I'm taking down because they've all been warped to the future.
That's fair enough. The only problem that I foresee with this plan is that everything back then, right? Oxygen was like really, really like rich in the atmosphere. So everything was giant, right? Literally everything. So it wouldn't just be like, a T-Rex or, Diplodocus or any of these random ass creatures that you have to deal with, these goddamn giant reptiles. You might have to deal with like a giant sloth. You might have to deal with like a giant bug. Bro, you don't want like a Resident Evil sized spider to actually exist in that world. Be a fucking nightmare. Plus, actually, for me, if I was going back there, I'd die immediately because I've got no practical life skills, like none. Like, there's no way I could light my own fire. There's no way I could do any of this shit. But you're actually quite good in the wilds.
You couldn't even put up a tent to download without my help. So yeah, you'd be dead frame 1.
Yeah, immediately. I'd get straight off the time capsule, immediately killed. And I'll probably just die of thirst because I'll be like hungover while I've come out of there. And then I just drink some dodgy water. It's just full of like, I don't know, frog spawn. And then I just die of like, I don't know, diarrhea. Or something really lame. I didn't even see a dinosaur. I just went into a cave and shit myself to death. It'd be terrifying.
But if everything's big, just think how big watermelons are going to be. Just take a second. Watermelons are pretty big now. Imagine a big ass watermelon. You could just live on watermelons.
I fucking hate watermelons, mate. Hate them. It's one of the few things I hate in this world is watermelons. What I hate, not to really derail this podcast too much from talking about living off watermelons, right? What I hate is fruit that pretends to be other things. And watermelon tastes like a shit cucumber. It's just a giant cucumber that tries to be sweet. And it just doesn't hit right. Melon in general just does not hit right. And I think because of that, I'd rather just die of dysentery. I think I would definitely rather die of dysentery rather than deal with this.
I mean, if they've got big watermelons, they can have big cucumbers for you. So you can have the cucumbers, I'll stick with the watermelons.
All right.
Enjoy yourself.
Deal. Go wild on that. Go wild. Well, fair play. Those would be pretty interesting. Mine's a little bit more kind of stroking my own ego a little bit, really. What I would do is I'd go back to 300, right? I'd go back to the Battle of Thermopylae. My one item I'd take would be a minigun. And I'd go up to the Spartan King and I'd be like, I'm here. And they're like, who are you? And I'd be like, I'm your god. And they'd be like, oh my god, okay. And then I'd be like, just stand back. I'd be like, 300, just fuck off. Only 2 of you, maybe 2. Just in case things go a bit sour, right? And I do need to be pulled out of this. Sit on the hilltop in Thermopylae, and just the Persians come out, and just mow them down. And they'd be like, holy shit. And then literally, my memory, I'd die there probably like 42, because I'd probably die of like gout or maybe gonorrhea or something else. But my legend would live on forever as like the God King, right? Who can literally just destroy an army with just his magic spinning machine of death. Bro, busted. Those like 10 years that I'd have left alive before I die of some natural cause, like a cut or something, they'd be great. They'd be great time.
Okay, Davey, let's do some role play. Okay? So I'm the king, ruler of ancient Greece. You've come up to me in Athens, and you're going to now tell me that you're my god. And of course, I only speak Greek.
Yeah, we wouldn't. I'd be like, "Hi, how's it going? I'm from the future. I'm a god." And he'd be like, "I don't understand." I'd be like, "Me, everyone dead." And he would, "I don't get it." And I'd be like, just I imagine I have a shawl on, right? Shawl comes off. It's got this massive, like, Vulcan Raven ass minigun. And I'd just be like, and just explode him into a million pieces. And everyone's like, ah! And I'd be like, bow down to me. And total villain moment. Everyone's shitting their pants. And then the person comes through. Sire, the Persians, they're coming near the wall. And I'd be like, stand back, boys. I got this. And they wouldn't have a clue what I'm saying. But that doesn't matter, because actions speak louder than words. And then it's, everyone's gone. Everyone's bowing down to me. Unlimited maidens. I would not be maidenless in that environment. It'd be unlimited amounts. I'd just be drinking all that ale, all that mead. I'd be getting that right in me. And we wouldn't stop there. We'd then start taking it to Persia. And the only thing I'd be limited by is the amount of bullets I got. That would be the only problem. That's when my rain would start running out as soon as those ammo starts getting dry. So after a while, we may have to go back to using, arrows and that.
And Davey, you may be cracked on the sticks when it comes to PlayStation games, but in real life, I've seen you with a gun. You ain't hitting stuff. You're wild with a gun.
But surely with a minigun, that's the perfect time to go wild with it, though. You don't have to aim that, do you? You just set it down, just turn it a little bit. Just dead. And they won't have a clue what's going on, so they'll just be running straight at you. Ah! And they're just like, just exploding everywhere. And then you just walk out. I'm sure you'd only have to kill, I don't know, maybe like 500 of them, maybe. And then they'd be like, do you know what? We might be a bit outclassed here. They're like, oh, arrows will blot out the sun. I'm like, good one. Done. Game over. GG's. And that's it then. And that's my legend. And you'll be sitting there in history class, in year 3 or whenever you'd study Rome and Greece. And they'd be like, oh, the Battle of Davey. When the god King Davey came down from the heavens with his spinning saber and wiped out the entire Persian army without even moving a muscle. And you won't have a clue. You'd be like, oh, what a great myth. But I'll know it's real.
So Spencer's gone back for greed, you've gone back to kill people, and I've gone back to be wowed by dinosaurs. It's very telling, guys.
Listeners, where would you want to go? If you could go anywhere in time, what would you take? Write into the email, pswetrust@gmail.com. Moving swiftly on from that one. Guys, as usual with the show, we always ask, what are you drinking? Now, it is a school night, the worst school night of them all, a Monday. Phil, I'm going to come to you first. Are you drinking today, or are you on that heavy-hitting H2O?
Well, Davey, I'm glad you asked. I am on the heavy-hitting H2O, because I have been drinking pretty much constantly the last 2 weeks, and I'll get on to what I've been up to when we talk about what I've been playing, because I've been playing no games, unfortunately. So we'll talk about what I've been up to. But I am supplementing that to keep the buzz going a little bit. So I've gone to my go-to beer for the podcast these days, which tends to be the Budweiser. So I've got a couple of Buds, and then I've got a couple of Bud Lights just to keep it going. I don't want too much. It's Monday.
It's a Monday. What about yourself, Spencer? What are you bringing to the table?
Right, boys, well, I'm getting fucking trashed. So, I've bought a crate of Estrella, because I was going to get a crate of Buds. However, for like £2 more, I saw Estrella and thought, damn. And damn, it hits. And then, Estrella aside, for when I have to do my shots, which evidently I'm going to have to do at some point, as Moo mentioned prior into the show, I've got a full bottle of Fireball. And I've got 6 Estrellas left. So if I do happen to run out, I do also have some Jameson's whiskey. I am getting demolished tonight, boys. And I hope you'll just deal with me.
I'd love to deal with you, Spencer. Spence, I'm kind of following in your tradition. We actually swap places. I'm on Budweiser today. So I'm going to drink 4 or 5 of these. So not too heavy, not too crazy. But I do have Fireball there just in case the button gets put on me, or if I absolutely destroy and really crash and burn on these impressions later on. So I've got backup just in case. Now let's move it on to what we've been playing.
This time on NPS We Trust, what have the boys been playing?
Right, guys, as I foreshadowed earlier, I haven't been playing any games, unfortunately. I've been a busy, busy boy. I've been over to a couple of comedy gigs. I've been building websites. I went to see Rammstein in concert in Cardiff, and I've been to Wimbledon last weekend. So I have had zero time to play any games. But I would love to know what you've been playing over the last 2 weeks.
I've actually not been playing an awful lot either. The only game I've been playing, and Davey, you've been playing it with me, so we can kind of tackle this game together, is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. What a sick game. Actually class. We split it halfway, so we paid like what, £9 each.
Less than that actually. I think we got it because we got it on the first week that it came out. I think it cost £17.50 or something like that. So yeah, like £8.70 or something each. It was like cheap as chips, really.
Yeah, fucking bargain. And that game, we've finished it now, or we finished the story mode with our respective characters. Mine being Donatello, yours being Raph. And it's great. Fucking fantastic game. The combat's fun. You have a dodge, you have mid-air attacks, double jump, which also changes your attacks. There's like slight combos, but not really. There's specials that change depending on what move you do into them. So you can do dodge specials, jump specials, normal specials, stuff like that. And just the music and the game design in Shredder's Revenge is fantastic. The way some of the boss fights work, I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to name any specific mechanics or any gimmicks in the game. But it's sick. It's just awesome. I've enjoyed every second I've played that game, and the platinum looks achievable. So I'm looking forward to playing more. Davey, what are your first impressions with this game?
Yeah, I gotta really just echo a lot of what you just said there. I think the music on this game is second to none. You know, anytime you got one of these like old school kind of brawlers, they've always just got great sound design. You know, like kind of like 8-bit, 16-bit kind of era. It's just great. Like every single stage is just like really funky. You kind of get into it like, yeah, just proper vibing as you go through it. And I think that's always good. And then it just gives so many throwbacks to like Turtles in Time. You know, it feels exactly like as if it just came straight from there, like as if it was made right after it and put out. It's like a real homage to fans. It's like you said, it's just a great, really fun experience. One of those games that you can kind of pick up and play without really too much thought and just enjoy and just hang out together and just go through the stage. But it's definitely a love letter to the games of old for the Turtles. That's for damn sure.
One of the nods that I saw on Twitter was where they were throwing the characters towards the camera. And that's quite a big one when they throw the foot soldiers from Turtles in Time. So yeah, I haven't actually played the game yet, guys, even though it was sort of highly rated by myself when we were talking about the Shag, Marry, Kills. I've got it on order. I've actually ordered the physical edition as well, so I've got it on my shelf. But I can't wait to jump in with you guys when we get a free night, when I stop all these extracurricular activities and I actually sit down, look at myself and say, you're on a podcast. You need to play some games.
It'd be great to get more of us on. It's fun. I went in actually the other night, and last night it was actually. I thought, you know what, I'm going to try the arcade on my own. I'm going to see if I can go all the way through it without losing a life. Put it to easy, just, you know, blast through it. I just wasn't the same. It just was not that much fun to play on my own. I think I did 5 stages, and I thought, oh, this is kind of feeling like a bit of a slog. Whereas when me and Spence were playing in co-op, it didn't feel like that at all. I was like, yeah, let's play some more. Let's do some more. Let's do some more. It's 3 a.m. They got work in 4 hours. We could do one more stage. We could just do one more. I didn't kind of have that same kind of pull to it. So, like you said, Phil, I'm just looking forward to the more of us, the merrier, to be honest. And with this game being like, what, a max of 6 player, is it? That you can have in one game? Like, that's just wild. That must be incredible. That must be insane to have that amount of people in. You know, so 3 of us, let's do it. I think that'd be just great. That'd be great. Although I am playing Casey next. So I'm Bagsy in that character. He's my next boy.
But outside that, Spence, that's all you've been playing?
Yeah, that is literally the only game I've been playing, other than some different games that I won't talk about yet. I'll bring them up in conversation later on in the podcast, maybe when they're a bit more relevant. But I do have to put out a warning to the listeners and you boys. My dog is downstairs, and he is a bastard. So, a lovely bastard, but a bastard nonetheless. Very cute bastard. So he might be barking. He might be smacking stuff about. You might hear my family screaming because he's biting them. He might be murdering people down there. Fuck knows. I'm up here. I'm safe and sound. But we might hear some remnants of noise and attack from him. So just a warning, it is what it is.
So if it's not your dad tiling, it's your dog murdering people downstairs. So really, the only safe space for you is over mine. And seeing as you haven't been over here the last couple of episodes now, I'm starting to feel like I'm endangering you a little bit by putting you back at home. Are you safe there, Spence? Do I need to come get you?
I don't remember an episode where he went to your house. I only remember it when he went on a mystical journey to all those strange places. You know, his background kept changing, like literally every time he jumped into a conversation with us.
The magic of editing, Phil. It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing.
How about yourself, Davey? What have you been up to?
Yeah, so for myself, Phil, I've kind of taken a bit of a blast for the past. Now, I went to Butlins with the family for a week, but I can't go away without my beautiful mistress, the PlayStation 5. I can't not take her with me, partly because my son is obsessed with Astro's Playroom. So I've played now 25 odd hours of Astro's Playroom. I don't know how many times I can listen to SSD without committing suicide, because it's getting to the point now where I'm actually getting sick of the game. I've completed it through now 4 different times. We collected everything, got the equivalent of platinum 4 different times now. And fair play, my 4-year-old, he's actually getting pretty good on it. He can do quite a lot of it himself. But there's the odd moment where he's like, Daddy, can you help? And I feel like just being like, oh, just taking my PlayStation 5 and just throwing it out the window. Because I'm just sick. I'm just sick of fucking Astro's little face running around. It's doing my head in. But apart from that, while I was away, I had access to a little gem that's been sitting on my hard drive for a little while. Something that me and Spencer are dipping into the multiplayer on a little while back. And that's Modern Warfare Remastered. The game that redefined shooting on a console. The game that brought us such missions as All Gillied Up. The AC-130 mission, which is so sick when you're going through and you're in a plane shooting all these Russian soldiers and you can't destroy the church. You're not allowed to do that. But everywhere else you're allowed to destroy. So sick. The bit where you're right at the end of the game and the bridge is all cracked around you and you're there lying there thinking you're dead. The enemy's walking towards you. And then you just see this pistol just slide out from Captain Price, where he just throws the pistol and you catch it midair. Bah! Shoot this enemy. So good. So good. I forgot just how good that game is. Seeing a nuke go off in the distance as you're flying away in a helicopter, crashing. You wake up and there's just this mushroom cloud. And as you walk through the rubble of this totally destroyed city, you collapse and die from radiation poisoning. Oh my God, what a game. And guys, I've got the platinum. I've done it. I went back and had to play it on veteran difficulty. Thank you ever so much. It was actually quite a hard one, because for the platinum you have to play it on veteran, and there's a mission on there where it's at the end of Chernobyl, where you've got to sit on a hill and defend a sniper called Macmillan, the guy who's famous for saying, 50,000 people used to live here, and now it's a ghost town. That guy is famous, right, for saying that classic line. He's like injured and you've got to wait for a helicopter to come and extract you, and you've got to defend yourself against an unlimited wave of Russians. And it is solid. It's absolutely ridiculously hard. It took me hours for that mission alone, let alone Mile High Club, where you've got to do the entire thing in 45 seconds. It's gruelingly hard, really, really difficult. But just a really fun platinum from start to finish. And it just really, I think what it is, I'm so excited for Modern Warfare 2 coming out in October that I just had this craving to go back to this COD and to play it. And especially after seeing the shipment level that was shown on the Summer Game Fest demo, to kind of replay that level again. I think it's called Wetworks, and see all that through. So hyped, guys. So that's all I've been doing. I mean, has anybody else kind of feeling this nostalgia for a game that is as old as COD 4?
Yes, actually, I myself, I knew you'd been playing COD 4. I already had it installed from us playing multiplayer, so I actually hopped into the campaign myself. And you do the training as it starts, and it says do your best, and then you do it at a certain speed, and it says we recommend this difficulty. I got veteran, so I was like, you know what, fuck it, yeah, I'll play on veteran as well. I tried. You sent a picture, you sent a video to me on PlayStation of your time, and I did try beating your time. I think I was something like 0.2 of a second off, but I was just like, I can't be asked to keep trying. I'd already tried it like 6 or 7 times. I was like, I can't be asked. I'd learned the route, and I saw what you did as well, shooting that one cut out through the wall. I was like, that's cheeky. That's quite clever. And I did mimic it, but I just couldn't be. I got close enough that I was like, I just want to play the campaign now. And I did dip into maybe 2 or 3 missions myself. What a great game. It genuinely is a fantastic game. If I wasn't starting it at 4 a.m., I probably would have played a lot more. But that is it. And I'm quite looking forward to going back to it when I have time. I'll probably put it on the back burner for now, but I know it'd be a great time.
It'd be a game, really, that I think one day one of us should put it up for spoiler cast from the past. Because there's so much to talk about that game. It's surprising how much all the future CODs that come past it kind of pay homage to it in some way. They all kind of just take something that worked from that and just kind of do it again. And it's been so long since I'd replayed it that I kind of forgot. Obviously, you always think about like the stealth missions with all gillied up and how they all try and copy that same approach that they did with that. You know, where it's like, wait, sit in the tall grass. The troops are coming, don't get spotted. And you just sit there lying down, just waiting for everyone to come past you. They're all trying that same approach, but I don't think any of them have really got it right from there. It's wild. It's such a great experience. I think if anybody redeemed it on PlayStation Plus a while back, probably like 18 months ago at this point, if you're craving a first-person shooter experience, go back and just relive it. It's so much fun. It's actually unbelievably fun. But I've been playing other stuff, but like Spence said, I'll save that for when we get later on and we start talking about our PlayStation Plus experience and what we've upgraded to. So we'll move it on, I think, to the quick news. Quick news. So before we start the quick news, it's important to stress what we're going to be impersonating this episode. This episode, guys, we're going to revisit video game sounds, and we're going to leave it open. So you can take it to a character impersonation, you can take it to just a gameplay sound, do whatever you want, be creative as you want. We got like 12 odd bits of news here to go through, so we got a lot of different ways this can unravel. Now, Phil, I'm going to come across to yourself first. I want to hear the sound that you hear when you pick up a Wumpa fruit in Crash Bandicoot.
That doesn't spring to my mind. I kind of remember when he picks up the mask, and that's like the extra life, but he says something which I probably couldn't just recreate off the top of my head without playing the game since it was on PS1. I haven't played any of the remaster versions of this game, so I'm just going to have to guess.
Go for it.
Blump! Quick news. PlayStation veterans have formed a new studio called Lethos. It's to create a blockchain game called Ashfall, featuring a connected world, evolving narrative, and NFTs. Is this something you've heard about, guys?
Yeah, I have heard about it, and it sounds like an absolute fucking nightmare, if I'm honest with you, Phil. I mean, what is going on here? Like, to split away from PlayStation, to go away from doing what you were doing when it comes to Days Gone, to go into this game called Ashfall, right? Which in the pictures they've showed looks great. It actually looks really cool. The concept arts, I think, look awesome. But then to just make it linked around NFTs, bro, I'm just not feeling that at all.
I was going to say that because I've been Googling around and looking at some of the images for Ashfall, and it is stunning. But as we know, you don't want to get your hopes too high when it comes to concept art, because concept art is always good.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen shit concept art. I think that's just when you failed, totally failed, isn't it? If your concept art's gash as well. You're like, oh no.
Especially because it's based around NFTs, right? So you would hope the art is going to be at the forefront of what they're doing. Surely the NFTs have got to be interesting for you to want and want to own. So the art's got to be top tier.
Well, I mean, I've seen those Bored Apes, and they look shit. And they sell for gangbusters. So I don't think there's any hope for humanity left, if I'm honest with you. Spence, have you got any thoughts on this one? What's going on over there, Spence? So you've had is your dad back? Is he back? Is he back? He's at the bath now.
No, we keep something on the stairs to stop bear coming upstairs. Just like a drawer, an empty drawer. We just put it on the stairs to stop him coming up. And they just fell down the stairs.
Have you not thought about getting something that actually stops them, like a stair gate? Yeah, there's something that an empty drawer. This seems like an old wives' tale, like when people are like, oh, yeah, if you sting yourself, if you sting yourself by a bee, put honey on it. It's like, surely that's the opposite thing I should put on. That's just going to attract more bees to my sting. Not get the sting down. This seems like just a bad idea, if I'm honest with you.
Why don't you buy him a drum kit? You know what I mean? It might be that kind of positive kind of reinforcement slightly, where you give him something that makes a lot of noise, and then he'll be like, I won't be playing that.
That's true. That's actually.
And he goes against it.
Yeah, he's like, I'll just be quiet now. I like that. So moving it back, Spence, what do you think about this news with Ashfall and the NFTs?
I mean, it's stupid. It's stupid. I'm looking at the concept art literally right now. Has it been explained how it's including NFTs? Because I'm thinking, right, say the NFTs are intertwined with the lore of the game. Because I'm looking at these pictures and it looks like the end of the world and they're trying to survive. Maybe if we actually carried on with NFTs and cryptocurrency, this is what the world would devolve to. And it would just spell out the end of our days. And then it looks great. If that's the case, looks fantastic. If it's just a normal end of the world game and they're just going to take pictures halfway through and sell those, dead. Stupid. Idiot.
Boys, I've got a quick question. Are NFTs really that new? Are they really that groundbreaking? We've been selling digital assets to each other for years. Just look at Counter-Strike, when you could download, weapon skins and, people would sell those online. Surely this is just the same thing, just by a different name.
I guess so, yeah. I suppose it kind of is. I suppose it's the same way that, years ago, before they banned it all, you could go onto World of Warcraft, onto the auction house, right, and sell stuff on there. Wasn't that the same way it kind of worked? And, people would build up their characters and sell their characters off on the black market. That kind of thing. Same kind of thing like with weapons and stuff. I remember my wife telling me that one of her mates slept with someone once for a sword on World of Warcraft. I thought, fair enough. I don't really understand how World of Warcraft works, but if you're getting laid for getting a sword, I mean, that sounds like good work for me. It sounds like a good fucking time. That would have been something that would have got me playing the game years ago if they'd advertised that.
Davey, back in the day when I used to play WoW, I used to run a guild, and I got 0 sex for that. So I don't know what server your missus and her friends are playing on, but maybe you want to advertise that on the podcast. I think it'll be pretty popular after you put the name out.
Yeah. I think since my missus is on there, I'll probably leave it off just for the minute. If I really need to find some extra time to game, then maybe I might just start putting her out there, and you guys can start asking her to farm for you, because she's addicted at the moment to World of Warcraft, and it's doing me favors, if I'm honest with you guys. So I get to spend time with you lads. So it's all coming up gravy in the Davis household here. But yeah, I think going back to your original question, I think you're right. It is something that's kind of been done by other forms before, but I've never seen it poisoned in a way that this is. Like, to have this kind of public perception that NFTs have, that it's just something that every time you hear it, you're like, it's just not a good look. It's just something that just really puts me off immediately as soon as someone says something like this involved. It really does.
There's a lot of negative connotations that sort of come along with it, and you are definitely one of the people that sort of puts your name out there and says, I'm against NFTs. Like multiple podcasts, you've sort of gone on about them, and you're the most outspoken on the podcast, definitely when it comes to NFTs. So why are you so against it, Davey? Is there a kind of underlying reason behind that?
Yeah, I think there is. I think it's just a case that people get taken advantage of. And I think when you look at how games have kind of gone on, in the 2010s, up until late 20s, we had to deal with so much shit. We had to deal with, when we had online passes, we had to then deal with loot boxes. We had to deal with just all these different ways that companies would just nickel and dime you. And I just really just do not want this kind of monetization. I kind of hate monetization in games anyway. I understand for a lot of things like cosmetics, I'm totally cool with, really, I suppose. Like, if people want to do that, as long as it's not like flashing up every fucking 2 minutes, I don't really have too much of an issue with it. But forming a game around NFTs is the same way as saying, we're forming a game around loot boxes, or forming a game around cosmetic items. Is that going to appeal to me? No. It's the content that's there that appeals to me, not what's actually there for me to purchase separately from the game itself. And that's kind of where I come down on it. That's why I'm so against it, because it's overt. It's just overt.
Amen. Like, they're selling it on NFTs. Surely they should be like, yes, we're going to create a game and it's got an incredible story. We're going to concentrate on the storytelling. We're going to concentrate on the gameplay. We're going to concentrate on the graphics. No, we're going to concentrate on something that makes us money.
It's like such an EA approach, but it's even worse than EA, because at least EA kind of hide it in the back end a little bit. Like, they may talk about it on their investment meetings, but you won't see like FIFA where they're like advertising it for, we've got this monetization feature in it. Sure, we all know about like Ultimate Team, and we know how much money Ultimate Team makes for FIFA, but their advert isn't Ultimate Team, right? Their advert is FIFA 2022, and it's like the story or whatever, and it's like, be your own legend, or whatever the hell their new catchphrase is for this year. It's not Ultimate Team, buy 2 packs for $15.99. Hopefully you'll get Ronaldo. If not, you'll be stuck with Paul Scholes. And I don't know any other footballers, so I'm just naming random ones that come to mind. Right?
Paul Scholes would be pretty good, mate. He was a great player. As much as I'm a Liverpool fan, as we can see behind me, and I hate Man United, obviously I've been brought up that way. I couldn't be on a podcast saying I like Man United. Paul Scholes was a pretty legendary player, to be fair.
You'd be quite happy with him in Ultimate Team then. Fair play.
Well, I'm not trading Steven Gerrard for him. But anyway, I digress. Now, Spencer, I want to hear your best impression of Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean on the PS2.
What a strange choice.
What a strange choice. I think you could do a good Jack Sparrow impression. Come on.
I think if anybody can do Jack Sparrow, I think it's Spencer. I think this is the role he was born to play.
I'm Captain Jack Sparrow. Quick news. Plague Tale Requiem has had a new gameplay trailer and a release date. The game is coming out on the 18th of October 2022, and it's going to cost £40 here in the UK. Following on from that, for your impression, well, you look me in the eyes. Do you think it's going to be a good one or a bad one? What do you think?
I've really gone out of my way. I'm not meaning to get on your good side now. I'm not meaning to. I'm being totally truthful with you. The last 2 episodes, me and Phil, both of us, I'd say this, we've gone out of our way to give you the easiest ones possible, and you've somehow fucked them up. I listened to the last episode back, and we gave you Ryu, we gave you Duke Nukem, we gave you all low-hanging fruit, whereas me and Phil, we're kind of challenging each other now by raising the bar a little bit, but I think we're still going quite low, so you can take it either way you want, Spence, and I will do the best possible job I can, and if I fail, so be it. But just know that we've both been looking after you.
In some instances, sure. Not in all instances, mate. No, you haven't. But what I'll give you for your impression, I want to hear the boot up sound of the PS2.
Oh, such a hard one. It's all just bells and stuff. Okay, ready? Press the power on the back. Tick. Tick. Ooh, that's the fan kicking in. So hard to do different sounds with your one voice. It's like impossible, actually. I just realised how hard that is. Quick news. A Forbes report has claimed that Cyberpunk's 2077 bugs problems were caused not because of the studio being incompetent, but because a QA company, Quantic Labs, lied to CD Projekt Red. Now, this would align with the original claim that QA did not find many game-breaking bugs by launch. Now, when I go into this article here, there's 3 different points I'm going to read out to you guys, and I'll get your take on this. So, Quantic Lab, the team that were doing QA, over-exaggerated the size of the team working on Cyberpunk 2077 in order to keep the contract. Quantic Lab said the team was made up of senior staff, but it was instead juniors with under 6 months' experience in QA. And finally, Quantic Lab had a daily quota of reported bugs, which led to CD Projekt Red getting thousands of relatively pointless bug reports from the testers, which took up a lot of time and caused game-breaking issues to not be found or prioritized. Spencer, as somebody who's been quite vocal on this game, and the only person out of us that's actually played it and experienced these bugs firsthand, what is your reaction to this?
My reaction to this is it does make a lot of sense. I mean, I understand how this could lead to the state of Cyberpunk at launch. and it makes sense as to why it did, especially with the amount of delays, the amount of time they had to keep extending the game, the amount of work they must have put into the game in the 7 or 12, however long years it took to develop. This just seems like a case of the QA company had the contract and didn't give a shit about it. They thought, we're just going to tell you what we want. If you need this many bugs, say like 50 bugs a day, we're going to find like bugs with the start menu, bugs with the inventory screen, bugs with this, rather than actually even playing the game, which I think that's mainly an issue with the contract rather than an issue with the QA. I think the QA testers obviously didn't do a good job, but the contract didn't force them to do a good job. If it was a tight-knit contract, which it's kind of hard to say, because even if it's like a contract for a daily quota of bugs, that's hard to enforce. You can't force bugs to happen, really. I mean, you can with some cases, but then that bug's gone. Once you've noted it once, you can't do the same bug again and again. You can't force bugs. It should just be a case of, we want you to play this game for this amount of time in maybe these specific scenarios, and report back to what you find, and maybe mix up your playstyle throughout. It should be a case of that, not just a daily quota of bugs, because that's just forcing them to just try and break the game rather than play it naturally and find what breaks the game, rather than them trying to force it themselves. As much as this is the QA company's fault, Quantic Labs, I think it's more a fault of the contract between the two companies.
Before I have my say, what do you reckon, Phil?
I can't believe we're still talking about this game. It's great for us being on a podcast because it constantly gives us content, right? There's always weird shit coming out of the woodwork when it comes to this game. And they're still trying to justify, the mess that they've gone through. I just don't understand, right? If they want their game tested, why didn't they come to the Bug Hunter?
When walls are spinning all around you, you can't properly aim your gun. You find you're falling through the world. I'll hunt you down 'cause you're a bug. I find the bugs, the big bad bugs. The Bug Hunter.
And if you are looking for your game to be tested, email in pswetrust@gmail.com. Of course, you can reach out to us on our socials. They'll be in the description, as well as our Reddit. So, yeah, come to the Bug Hunter. We'll find those bugs.
Definitely, Phil, definitely. And it's good to just play the theme tune again. It's been such a long time since Spence has found something that's been actually like cripplingly bad. And I think it's mostly because we've been playing old stuff at the minute. So it's only a matter of time until we get into a brand new game, and then Spencer's going to be set free out into the wilds to find all these things. But yeah, I think I'm kind of going down the kind of middle road from you guys, because I think there's blame to go around from all sides here. I think the team themselves, the QA team here, fucked up, because you get a contract that's obviously quite a sizable contract, I imagine, and then the leaders of the company probably said, look, the way that we can make the most money on this isn't to put our best guys on this, isn't to put our senior guys on it. It's the way to put our juniors. This is coming from a really big studio. It's not going to be that bad. We can just put the juniors on this. It'll be fine, and we'll save an absolute fortune on this, on testing all this, and we'll make a shitload of money. Great. And then they probably then, after a couple of weeks maybe, they weren't getting the results they needed. So they then mandate a quota for them to find so many bugs. So then the people then that are working on these junior level positions think, fuck it, well, if I'm working just to a target that I've got to achieve this target, doesn't matter what I find, let's just put whatever. That's all on the QA's fault. That's all 100% on the QA's fault. However, the buck stops with the companies putting out the product, in my opinion. And CD Projekt Red, if you're outsourcing this, you should have oversight. And by claiming that it's somebody else's fault is bullshit, because you ultimately have oversight and responsibility for your own product. And if you're choosing not to do that, or to be willingly blind or overly trustworthy in anything, that's not a good look. I think when I manage my team, I love my team to bits. I know what they're all capable of, I trust them. But I still oversight their work, because you have to. You have to. You have to dip test this shit. So they can't for 1 second say that they had no idea this was the state of the game. It was a surprise to them. Bollocks. They knew 100%. And so even though it is very much a case, in my opinion, that the QA team fucked up here, Cyberpunk aren't off the hook. Definitely on CDPR as well.
This actually reminds me a lot of something I found out recently. This is something they 100% should have done. I don't know if you boys know, but Square making FF16 right now, that game's finished. That game's been finished for a while. The last year of development until the release date is entirely just them polishing the game. And that's something that other companies do not do. And I don't understand why. Delaying a game by a year, it's just happened with Ragnarok. Ragnarok was delayed for a year, God of War. And that's just because they had to extend time. They need to get the game out. But Square have so much faith in this game. The amount of faith that CDPR should have had in Cyberpunk, because the hype around Cyberpunk was huge, massive. And Square know they're going to do something big with FF16. So they're making sure it's perfect. They're going to QA companies. They're spending an entire year having a completed game and just polishing it. Why didn't CDPR do the same thing? Why didn't they put more faith in the game and just make it perfect for launch? I understand they'd already delayed it a lot, but it's a time of delays. Game delays happen constantly at the minute. Just delay it more.
It's not even as if it's coming from a developer that's never released a game before. You could probably forgive someone that's new to the scene, coming out with their first game, and it doesn't hit the high heights that everyone's expecting. These guys did The Witcher 3. Absolute madness.
Exactly right. It's inexcusable, and I think we're all bang on that. That ultimately the buck stops with them. Now, Phil, coming back to yourself, I didn't mean to do you dirty last time. I really didn't. I thought it was going to be quite a good one with the Wampa fruit. So instead, let's give you a nice impression. Let's give you a nice impression of a video game character. I want to hear your best impression of Scorpion from Mortal Kombat.
Okay, there's an obvious one that springs to mind. I'll just do the inputs. Get over here!
Oh, I like you went Mortal Kombat 1 on that, pulling the rope back in as well. That's Mortal Kombat 1, 2, 3. Yeah, nice. Appreciate that.
These greys aren't dyed, mate. Quick news! PlayStation's Horizon TV series will seemingly be called Horizon 2074, indicating that it's partly set during the fall of civilization that takes 1,000 years before the game. Now, guys, you excited about this?
No. And that's mostly because I don't have really any attachment to the franchise, not like you boys. I've played a bit of Zero Dawn, but I definitely haven't finished it, or in your case, Phil, platinumed it. I've definitely not put that time in. I'm looking forward to doing so, and if I do, maybe I'll want to watch the show. But I think it's very rare cases where video game entertainment is good. And we've experienced firsthand a lot of letdowns. A significant number of letdowns. Definitely more letdowns than anything good. So, but the show, we need to see the show. Don't we? We need to see a trailer, or we need to see footage or something, and then maybe I'll be excited for the show. And then maybe it's a case of like the Witcher show on Netflix. Maybe it's a case of the show makes me play the game. Because that's what happened for a lot of people. When The Witcher came out on Netflix, the sales for Witcher 3 suddenly surged. And it could be another case similar to that. And that'd be awesome. But as of right now, I have no excitement for this show or any even understanding of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. How about yourself, Davey? Because we both played the game, or played both of the games. We both platinumed both of them, I believe. And for me, this makes complete sense, because they probably wouldn't want to do a series based when the games are around, because there's not so many people, right? You want to explain the part of the story which hasn't been explained. And that's my thinking of it. I think it's quite clever, really.
Yeah, I got to agree with you on this. Now, the only thing I'd need to check is what year Elizabeth Sobeck and all that kicks off. That's the only thing I can't remember the year on. I think it's probably quite important before I say my view, just in case I'm completely wrong. Can somebody just check this for me super quick?
I don't have a fucking clue. Nothing else to do, so that's all ask Google.
So, Phil, do you have an answer for me?
I do. I've looked up on the Wikipedia. Obviously, I've played the game, so I'm safe looking up this information because I wouldn't want this to be spoiled. So Elizabeth Sobek was born in March 11th, 2020 in Nevada.
So it seems like around it's the time of the fall of humanity. Now, Spencer, I want you to take your headset off just for a moment. Just for a moment, if you don't mind. Listeners, if you haven't played Horizon, either of them, especially the first one, then for the next minute or so, I'd encourage you to look away. Now, in the description for the podcast, for you audio listeners, I will have a section which will say spoilers. So you can just go to the next timestamp after that. For you visual listeners, I'll put my thumb up when it's over, just so you know what's going on, okay? Right, let's get into this. So, Phil, the reason why I think this is really interesting is because this is the time where we get to see everything that happens with the war. We get to see the machine uprising. We get to see Ted Farrow's, kind of panic. We get to see these machines just having this constant advance. And we know as a listener and the kind of watcher to this, how it's going to go. That we know humanity's fucked. But we get to see all the different struggles. We get to see the 10. We get to see the RAF going up against this endless horde of machines, which just, ingest all this biological material. We get to see the plans for Horizon come into fruition. We get to see the kind of panic for the different teams around the world. I think there's so many different stories they can tell here. We've only seen the story from Forbidden West, obviously, where they fly off and go into space to escape all this. And we see what happens with the Zero Dawn Protocol. What happened with the rest of the world? We've only seen America. What happened in Britain? What happened in France? What happened everywhere else, I think there's so much that we can learn here, and this is the perfect time to set a Horizon game. What do you think about that?
True. It could be set anywhere. You are completely right. It could be set anywhere across the globe because it is a global phenomenon, and that's why they do escape sort of towards the end of the game. But yeah, it's going to be hell of an interesting because it's just amazing to see the world burn, isn't it? And destruction kicking off and understanding that fully because it's definitely been hinted at and everyone's, got their own views on sort of little bits that have been happening. But for them to actually tell a story as it's happening, I think it'd be a really, really interesting concept. It's better than just going, oh, we're going to do a story about Aloy. That would be just too obvious, wouldn't it? Oh, we're just going to do the next part of Horizon, all right? It's just Aloy hanging out or whatever, right? And she goes on some minor missions. No, let's tell the bit of the story that gives everyone a bit more context when we get to the next game.
I think you're bang on. I think we're both in agreement on this. I think it's time to end spoilers. So, thumbs going up. Spencer's good to go. So let's move on to the next piece then, lads.
Spencer, I want to give you some payback.
For what?
Because the last couple of episodes, we've been very harsh on you. And I know your distaste for one of Davey's impressions that went on. So I'm now going to give you the opportunity to take the piss. I'm going to give you a character from Metal Gear Solid that you've played. You rated it a 6 out of 10. Completely wrong. But it's a character that should stick out to you. I want to hear an impression of Solid Snake himself. I'm throwing you a bone.
That's it. Oh, it sounded like you were going to carry on like Solid Snake when he's dead or something. I was going to be like, what the fuck?
It can be anything from the first Metal Gear. I just want a quote and I want it in his voice. And this is how you win Quick News. Because we'll both vote for you as the best because we love the game.
Snake's not very good. That's the issue. No, my nothing's very good. I can do a good Spence. I'll tell you that. My Spence is great. Anything else is tragic.
I think your Spence is a bit lacking, mate. I don't think it's that
Bro,
good.
I'll tell you, it's cracked, bro. No, it's cracked. Yeah, trust me. I kind of just want to do the... Hang on. I'm going to make this a bit mad.
Where's he going with this?
Can you see my face?
Yeah, barely.
Is this part of the impression? Because we don't want to spoil it, right? Tell us when.
Just now, I'm just going to do it. And in the edit, you got to put a snake over that. And it'll be perfect, trust me.
Snake, are you okay? Snake?
Quick news. The July PS Plus Essential games were leaked early again and have since been confirmed. The games are as follows. Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time on the PS5 and PS4. Dark Pictures Anthology Man of Medan. and Arcade-Ageddon. Those are the 3 games for the Essential tier. However, if you upgraded to PS Extra and Premium, or Premium rather, you will also be getting Stray day and date. Boys, what do you think of these 3/4 games? Any of them kind of take your fancy?
What a great month. What a phenomenal month. Crash Bandicoot 4 has been on my list for something to buy for since it released, really. I platinumed the original trilogy when that came to PlayStation 4. This is my chance to get the next platinum. Really, really, really happy with that. Dark Pictures, Madame Medan, I go on about them every single year. Weirdly enough, actually, I was meant to say earlier on the show, I've got The Quarry. I've got The Quarry sitting there, the newest one from the same team as Dark Pictures. I just haven't got around to playing it yet. Me and the wife haven't got together. She hadn't pulled her ass off World of Warcraft. So I'll be able to give you the update on that hopefully in next episode. You guys were going to love that. Such a great game. Really, really good to play. Just really fun. Quick game to play through. Arcade-Ageddon. I don't really know much about this. I looked into it, but didn't really see an awful lot. It looks like a brand new game is releasing at the same time as it goes live on PlayStation. Dumb fun. And Stray. One of my most anticipated games of 2022. One of the games that I'll be amazed isn't in my best games of all time list. Playing as a cat. I love that pussy, bro. I can't wait to be playing a bit of Stray. So this is a great month for me. Really, really top tier month. And not to spoil what's coming later in the podcast, but I will have access to that Frame 1 for free. And that's all I'm going to play. Can't wait. Phil, you're much of an outlier on PlayStation Plus. You're very much the first person to turn around and shit on it. What do you think about this?
I think this is a big W, big fat W, actually. I'm quite interested in a bunch of these games, actually. And if I had played Crash Bandicoot 4, I would have known the sound effect for this for this round. So that probably would have done me well. And you talk about the Dark Pictures anthologies quite a lot, and I think it's quite a cute setting that you sort of portray and sort of allow the fans to sort of know that you spend a lot of time with your missus playing these games. But obviously, she's too busy earning a sword on World of Warcraft to be able to play with you at the moment. But I think maybe I'll get my girlfriend involved, right? She's just started playing some Switch games at the moment, so maybe this is how I sort of bring her into the fold and bring her into a bit of PlayStation, definitely. I'm not a subscriber to the premium tier of PS Plus, so I'm not going to be getting the pussy the same as you, Davey, but I'm really interested, definitely in Crash Bandicoot and the Dark Pictures for me.
What about yourself, Spence?
Well, for me, I've got the Crash Insane Trilogy, but I've not actually, I've played with it a little bit. I did fancy doing the platinums just because it's 3 platinums in one game. That is a sight to behold. But I haven't actually done it yet, and I don't know if I will. I remember not enjoying it that much, which is mad because I loved the original games on the PS1. But Crash 4, I would definitely save it for after I've played Insane, but I'd be happy to have it in my library. Dark Pictures Man and Medan, I actually have that installed on my PS5 right now. Not to spoil anything. I mean, you boys already have, so I may as well. But it's on the PS Premium list, and I downloaded it. Why not? Because my missus was over. I thought, that'd be nice to play. And then we never played it. So I'm probably going to play it at some point. Looking forward to it. It being on the PS Plus Essential games is good, because even though I downloaded it on PS Premium, that's not a permanent thing. That can go away. Whereas now, it will forever be a part of my library. And that is awesome. Arcade-Ageddon, no idea. Not seen it. I've seen a few pictures of it. Seen it on Twitter, maybe. If it's fun with the boys, I'll play it. That's about it. I'm quite happy with Dark Pictures and Crash 4. But the 4th game. Straight diving in that pussy, boys. By God. Free to play day 1. It's not free, but it's technically free. I've already paid for the subscription. I've got my money's worth. I'm happy. Straight in that cat, bro. Oh, well, a bit weird. But it's going to be great fun. I can't wait to be a cat and just roam the streets. I'm looking forward to it.
I can't wait to just wait till someone's asleep and then just pad on them until they wake up and then fuck off out the room. Because that's all my cat does all the time. It's well annoying. And I love him. I let him crouch under the blanket. And he crouches in, he gets really close, crouches into me. And then I wake up in the morning and all I've got tail smacking me in the face. Where he's just literally sat on my chest. I'm like, can barely breathe because he's quite a heavy cat. And it's just a tail whipping me. And I can't wait to do that to an NPC and get a platinum trophy for it. If that's a trophy, I'll save that to my last one. So that I get that gameplay footage of just cat ass on someone's chest, whipping them in the face. It's going to be a great time. Can't wait. Cannot wait. Most anticipated game of 2022, baby. It's going to be a great time. Get me that pussy. Can't wait.
Fair play, mate. I can't say it any better than you did. I think that's it for that. Before I give you your impression, I'm going to do the shot that I owe from last episode. So I didn't do it. Just so I don't have to do two later on.
Fair enough.
I'll do it now.
All right. Fair enough.
All right. This might be, I've got an impression for you. And it might be a bit of a sin. However, I think you boys will allow it. I want to hear the theme from Halo 3.
Now, the problem is, I know the Halo theme, but I don't know the difference between Halo 1, 2, and 3. So I'll just go for what I know. Bum ba bum, bum ba bum, bum ba bum, bum ba bum, bum ba da ba bum, 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 ba da ba da da diddle 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 I can't go any higher. Quick news. So I might have butchered that. I don't know. I know the Halo theme, and I've played the Halo trilogy, but that's all I know. Quick news. PlayStation Plus, extra and premium members, you need to be aware that there are games leaving the service soon. And when I say soon, I mean literally tomorrow from the day of recording. So in the past, actually, you probably already missed them. But the games that are going out of this service pretty quickly, Shadow Warrior is leaving on the 5th of July, Shadow Warrior 3. NBA 2K22 is leaving on the 31st of August. World Rally Championship 10 is leaving on the 31st of August as well. Red Dead Redemption is leaving on the 17th of October 2022. Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare, 17th of October as well. And finally, last one to leave is Red Dead Redemption 2 on the 20th of September. Now, that game is an absolute giant game by all accords, apparently like 100 odd hours. So if I was you, if you want to play this game, get on it straight away because time is running out. Now, we're spicing up the order here. So instead of me going to Phil, Spencer, I'm going to come back to you. Since you gave me a theme, I want to hear your rendition of Uncharted.
Bro. I don't know it.
Just make it up.
This is Uncharted. And I'll say, you boys haven't seen the film. That's definitely from the film. You didn't say which Uncharted.
He's got me there. He's got me there.
Quick news. Skate EA have tweeted out about Skate 4 after a long time silence. Their tweet is as follows. We're still working on it, but it's time for you to see what we've been up to. Become a Skate Insider and sign up for playtesting at skate.game/insider. That is it. That's all they said. However, there's a little bit of footage. The game looks rough. They specified this is pre-alpha footage. The game looks extremely rough. However, this could be your chance to play this game early. I'm sure we will put the link to this in the description below. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not the one that does that. That's Davey. Davey, mate, you...
Yeah, I will. I think it's pretty cool that people could sign up and play test it early. So yeah, why the hell not?
There we go. The link will be in the description below. So if you're a Skate fan, or even if you're not, but you're excited for Skate 4, maybe you're looking forward to Tony Hawk's 3 and 4, which are never going to happen. This is your last resort. So you may as well see what the game's about. Sign up to skate.game/insider, which will be in the description below. Philip Hoy. Again, this might be another sin for us. I'm straying away from PlayStation. I'm just doing it. I don't know why. And this is another theme, but not from a game. It's the theme you hear when you boot up a GameCube. It's a very, very famous theme. I'm sure you know it. I'd love to hear your impression of it.
Well, we know what I'm like with anything music-based, don't we? I'll just go with it anyway. Oh, bloop, 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 bloop. Doo-doo-dum. Quick news. Ubisoft is shutting down multiplayer games of 15-year-old games and access to some of its PC DLC. That includes some of the Assassin's Creed games of the past, as well as Driver, San Francisco, and Far Cry 3 guys. My question to you is, when is it too quick to pull the plug on these multiplayer games? Davey, I'm going to hit you up first.
Hit me.
Talk to me, brother.
Talk to me. Talk to me. Terry Tibbs. I think it's very much a case of whatever the player base is. I think this is the thing. When I reviewed a game that can't be mentioned a while ago, which one for the PlayStation 3, and I was amazed that the servers were still up for it and it had an active player base, and it was great. You know, it was really good to see that and to get straight into a game and just to play it. I think it all comes down to the community, and to be honest, like when you look at Ubisoft games, especially with Assassin's Creed games that they're mentioning here in this report, they're games that the multiplayer was kind of tacked on. There was a new Assassin's Creed every single year. So in the same way that COD is that people move on to the next one, and it's very rare that people go back, same kind of thing, you know? I could see them shutting it down really quick. It all depends on what the game is. It's very much an open-ended question. I know that's not what you want to hear. I think, as a general rule, if you were to put it down as a rule, I'd say maybe 7 years minimum. I think that's enough a whole console generation for it to be open. That would be my kind of base rule. But there's some games that have got legs, bro. They got some games like Resistance 2. I was gutted when they closed that server down because I still actively went back every couple of months and played it. And that game got shut down, and that was one of the worst days of my life.
Yeah, totally agree with you. I think that's probably around the right sort of time period to allow a game to sort of breathe a little bit. But maybe this is my sort of PC kind of mentality speaking through. I think when they do shut off gaming servers, and especially when they're tied to trophies, because you definitely still want to get these trophies. You know, there's some games out there now that you'll never be able to get the Platinum Trophy because they are tied in to a multiplayer trophy, which you can't achieve because the servers don't exist. I think they should open it up and allow the modding crowd to get involved and run their own servers. But maybe that, as I said, that's probably PC mentality, not PlayStation mentality. I don't know how you feel about this, Spence.
I'm a PC gamer similar to you, so I actually entirely echo your thoughts. I mean, the modding community is nowhere near as large on console gaming as it is on PC, which obviously just makes sense. But you could do so much with PC games rather than console games. There's a lot more limitations as to what you can do. But I kind of have to echo both of your thoughts. I completely agree with you, Phil. When the game does come to its end, it should be opened up to the community just for that small player base to actually just keep playing that game. But the game needs to last as long as it can, I suppose. So David, with what you said about maybe 7 years or a console generation, that being the longevity of a game. But even in that case, there are some instances that just break the barrier. Like, I'm fairly sure Call of Duty 4, even on like consoles, probably still has the servers up. The original COD 4. And games like that, like legacy games, there are some games that can't be closed. And with the day they are closed, Halo 3, the day those games are closed would be a sad, dark day.
Well, I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? There's some games that are so culturally important for their multiplayer, they'll remain intact forever, you know? Games that still, like, I think it was on the Xbox version of Call of Duty 4, where obviously you can just put in your disc into your Xbox Series and still play, like, old CODs or whatever. They're still running fine. You know, they're still big games, but they're busted online, right? They're great online. These games that Ubisoft listed, none of them are great online. They're great single-player experiences. I mean, like, Driver was shit when it came out. It was terrible then. I didn't buy it then on PS3. It was fucking terrible. But the Assassin's Creed games they listed were awesome. That was when I was right up Assassin's Creed's arse. They were great games, but did I play the online? No. I had taste. And most people did. So those servers have probably been sitting vacant for years and years and years. And going back to what Phil said about trophies and stuff, this does suck because there's a platinum to me that'll haunt me for the rest of my days, actually. It's Killzone 2. And there was trophies in there where you had to achieve top 1% in the world in a week for online. So it all came down to time. And I really wanted this trophy. So I booked a week off work. I thought I'm just going to play Killzone 2 the entire week. Problem was, I had a girlfriend at the time, and she wanted a couple of days out of that. And that difference in those couple of days that I could have spent playing was the difference between 1% and 3%. So I got the silver trophy for getting the top 3% in the world, didn't get the gold trophy for top 1%. I missed my chance. And I'm sitting on 91% on that game, never will get 100%, because I'll never get that trophy. And that stings. That really stings. But that's just the way it is. You know, you just got to come to accept these L's that you take in the trophy game.
Bro, I'd have broken up with her. Day one. If you book a week off work for a platty and she's like, take me out. You're like, fuck, no. I got a week off work. I'm not earning money this week. I'm not spending money on you. I'm staying home. I got food in my fridge. I got ready meals I've bought from Asda. 7 ready meals for every day. Just to pop in the microwave. I can get a quick game of Killzone 2 in whilst they're cooking. Come down. Eat it whilst you do. You're sitting on a bucket because you go toilet where you play. You're getting that 1%. You're getting it. And she comes in. She's like, oh, I don't like this game. I don't want to watch you play it anymore. You're like, then go home. Go away. What are you on
There's
about?
nothing keeping you here.
Go.
You know where the door is?
I'd be done, bro. That'd be it. That's the end of the relationship for me. I'd be like, get the fuck out. You know this is important to me because I complain about it every day. And I bet you did.
Well, this is the thing. Well, I didn't marry her, did I? So maybe this is the straw that broke the camel's back, mate. Maybe this is it.
Early warning signal.
It was a get out of jail free card right there. Thank God. Cost me the platinum though, but
I was gonna say, yeah, it wasn't free.
nice. No, it wasn't free. It cost me a lot. It cost me more than you'd know. What did it cost? Everything.
But anyway, before you incriminate yourself any further, Davey, I want to hear an impression from Tony Hawk's. Can be any game. I just want to hear an impression of one of the songs. You like all your music impressions, so let me hear it.
So I'm not sure which Tony Hawk this was off, but it's Blood Brothers by Papa Roach. And it goes Blood Brothers, keep it real to the end. I don't know the rest, sorry, but that's all you're getting. I hope that's enough for you. Quick news. Announced on their Twitter with an accompanying video showcasing it, the TE3 is on the way. Now, just to give you some history here, Mad Catz have existed making dodgy third-person peripherals since PlayStation 1. It then struck gold with its TE series of fight sticks, cementing Mad Catz as the FGC stick of choice back in Street Fighter 4 days. However, bad news followed. The company invested into Rock Band 4, where it was responsible for co-publishing the game, as well as manufacturing the peripherals. This failed to take off, and led to it filing for bankruptcy. It was then saved from this fate by a Chinese investor in 2018. In 2020, they returned to their roots and brought out a new stick, which was called the Ego. Promising to work across all platforms with premium components, the reality of this promise was much different. The Ego was a rebranded cheap Chinese stick which has existed for years, known as the GameSir C2, and the only reason it worked cross-platform was by using a controller as a bridge. Now this is common in cheap Mayflash sticks, not a $180 premium peripheral. Needless to say, it didn't set the world ablaze. And with the company bringing back the TE line, we can only hope Mad Catz return to their former glory and bring us the same quality we'd come to expect from the brand. Spencer, for your impression, I want to hear the noise of a shotgun.
Babying me so bad. But I appreciate it. I mean, I'll take it anywhere I want. You're a basic ass bitch if you don't use the SPAS 12 or a trench, you know? So the easiest one to replicate in a noise, double barrel's dead, bro. Double barrel's dead. Easiest one to replicate in noise, I think, is the trench, which is just a ch-ch. And that's a trench. Quick news. Elden Ring developer From Software is working on multiple new projects from different directors, it said. Don't know what they are. Could be VR, could be more Souls games, more Ring games. God knows. But they have also confirmed their next game is almost finished already. We've just gotten off of Elden Ring. The next game is already finished, or already close to finished, and they're working on multiple new projects. Lads, Davey, namely you, because you're as big a FromSoft fan as I am. Bro, what do you think about this? About the next game almost being finished, and the fact they have multiple games in the works? What are your thoughts?
A little part of me wants to say Armored Core. As if anyone gives a fuck about Armored Core. Right? Literally no one. Surely one of them's Bloodborne 2. It's got to be. Surely to God. It's got to be, right? Please give me Bloodborne 2. That's all I want. I don't really care what else they're doing. Unless we're going back to Dark Souls and we're getting more that kind of more linear-ish style compared to Elden Ring. I'd really want some more of that. I'd love me some more of that. Bloodborne fits that same narrative, but just with a better art style. So, Bloodborne 2. I mean, anything FromSoft do, they're gonna raise the eyebrow for me. I'm gonna be interested in it. So I'm just happy to see where they go and whatever they announce. I'm not overly frothing for it. I'm not frothing at the gash. I'm quite satiated with what they've brought out so far. But hell, bring it on.
Phil, mate, I know you're not a very big FromSoft guy. Do you have any thoughts on this whatsoever?
Well, Davey said, who gives a fuck about Armored Core? I'm the guy who gives a fuck about Armored Core, right? I had all the Gundam games. I had all the Armored Core games. It's me. I'm the guy who buys those games. So if they brought a new Armored Core game to the PS5, I'm day one. I'm involved in that. 100%, guys.
Well, there we go. At least we can cover it from all aspects on the podcast, can't we? We'll have us for, everything they do, and then Phil for Armored Core. So, there's something there. That'd be interesting. What about yourself, Spence? Are you falling in line with me on this one?
I'm 100% falling in line with you. Bloodborne 2 would be exceptional. But I think the key thing here is that the devs confirmed that the next game's almost finished. Sure. But they have multiple new projects in the works. That doesn't mean games. I think the multiple new projects, they are games. But at least one of them is going to be something I predicted at the Summer Games Fest, and it's going to be Elden Ring DLC, and we're going to see it soon. That's what I want. That stadium that's blocked by that giant jar, he's going to get out the way. He's going to stand there like this, like he does. And he's going to say, I recognize your strength. Enter. And then he moves. You get in, and he's going to be the boss. And that would be sick. That's the DLC, predicting it now. 5 shots. I'm not doing that. But I'm predicting that's where the DLC takes place, because it makes sense. Or it could be a whole new area. It's an open world game. There's teleporting in the game. It could be a whole new island. Bro, they could do so much, bro. Elden Ring DLC and Bloodborne 2. Oh, just give it to me, FromSoft. Just do it. Just do it. It'll make something new. I'll lap it up anyway.
Considering they said multiple projects, what are the chances that it could be linked to something like a Bloodborne movie or a TV series? Potentially now they're trying to cash in because, everyone loves Souls games. This is the height of their popularity. Why not cash in? Why not make a movie or make a TV series and jump on that bandwagon and make that money?
I think my argument for that is, although a lot of the die-hard fans would love it, majority of Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, a majority of those players don't give a flying fuck about the lore. I know Davey right here, he plays every single Souls game or every single FromSoft game. He doesn't have a clue what's happened. He doesn't know. All he knows is he's got 2 big swords and he's smacked people. And he's loved it.
Well, maybe this is the opportunity to explain the lore, seeing that it has been quite a difficult thing to get your head around.
Yeah, maybe. I think I quite like the mystery of not knowing. I quite like the mystery of just literally going on YouTube and just searching people up. I'm quite happy sitting in ignorance, Phil. And I think really, do I need to see somebody battling beasts? Not really. I don't really care. How do they get over the fact that you got to follow someone that just, if they die, they just come back infinitely? There's no stakes, is there? There's no stakes in... I'm not playing it and be like, oh, the stakes in Bloodborne. Because it's like you die, you just go back and do it all again. How do you bring that into a narrative format? I honestly don't know. Sure, would it be cool to see someone have a transforming weapon in real life? Yes. I would love that. I would pop off. Outside of that, don't really care. I think it's an interesting thought, and seeing as they're doing a Twisted Metal Black TV series or movie, shit, anything's possible. So why the hell not?
Brother, they're making a Gran Turismo movie.
Yeah, all right, yeah, fair
you
enough.
can make a movie about anything. As long as you just fill it with some bullshit, it's fine. But to be fair, to defend you, Phil, as much as a lot of players don't give a shit about the lore in FromSoft games, the lore is extensive. There is a lot of content that could be put into a film, and I know I'd lap it up, I'd go watch it. Like I said earlier, from our experiences, it probably wouldn't be good, but I'd enjoy the content. I enjoy the content usually anyway, even with the shit films. As we know, I'm the outlier, whereas I enjoyed that one film that we can't really talk about, just because it was hilarious. If you view that film as a comedy rather than a horror, it is perfect. But I digress. I'm looking forward to seeing what FromSoft do with these new projects, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what their next game is. Philip Hoy. Oh, the fine wine himself.
I always get full names.
You got a nice name, bro.
You know, if anyone wants to look me up, there is my
Yeah,
full
you got
name.
a nice name. It rolls off the tongue. You know, Philip Hoy. Think about that, Philip Hoy.
It does. It's something about the, I don't know, the amount of syllables, or just something about it just feels quite nice, doesn't it? I'd never
Yeah,
call
it's
him
fun
Philip.
to say.
It is just quite nice to say. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Something about it I quite like.
Philip Hoy. Why?
I don't get to say my name very often, like, Philip Hoy. Do I really
but
say
when you
Philip Hoy
do-
very often?
when you
apart
do,
from
you
when
go-
they're like, oh,
Hoy. Philip Hoy.
Philip Hoy.
And then they gush. Flood warnings start popping up on your phone.
The Met Office. The Met Office kicking in straight away. Watch out, major flood warning in this area. Philip Hoy just full named himself and did it in the James Bond way. Hoy. Philip Hoy. Why'd you say your second name first?
So for this one, I'm going to briefly turn the button off for a second. So you've just booted up the game. You've booted up the game that can't be mentioned, let's say 4. And the main menu screen comes on. What does it say?
I get you. David, do you agree to this?
You put me on the spot now. I definitely would have buzzed you. Yes, I'll allow it. Go on. I definitely was going to buzz you. I was hovering the button. But as you put me on the spot and you cleared yourself, then yes, you can do it.
Resident Evil 4. Quick news! A Sony patent suggests PS3 era peripheral compatibility could be coming to PS5. An image shows the DualShock, a Sony remote, and what appears to be the PlayStation Move, an iToy, and a PlayStation Wand with the memory card. Coming to PlayStation 5? Now guys, could this be linked to the increased efforts of the PS3 emulation on PS5?
I think that's exactly what it is, Phil. There's no way you're going to be plugging in like a memory card, are you? You're not going to be really using like an iToy or some bollocks like that. There's no reason for that. I think it's definitely a case of this is how you get some of these games that wouldn't work any other way working on the PlayStation 5. I think it's just a great way to be able to unlock all the capability that PlayStation 3 has, put it onto the PlayStation 5, and then say, right, let's get this emulation up and running. Let's finally give what people want, downloadable games from the PlayStation 3 catalog on the PS5.
For me, you've got to map it to somewhere. So they need the compatibility with these peripherals. So it's not that we're going to be using these peripherals, in my opinion, on the PS5. It's that we can map them to the PS5 peripherals so they can work in PS3 games. How do you feel about it, Spence?
It makes perfect sense for what you boys are saying, especially you, Phil, with the peripherals we're trying to meet the current equivalents. And I agree with that entirely. Also, tweeted out today, PlayStation are hiring a quote-unquote classics engineer with the sole purpose of creating emulators. So obviously for emulating PS3, because they've done everything else. What else would they need an engineer for?
Vita's not on there yet. That's the only one left. It's Vita and PlayStation 3. That's all that's left to go now. And then we're good to go.
Sure, Vita's, yeah, it's a great shout, to be fair. I forgot about Vita. But PS3 is probably their main thing they're trying to get on. And granted, they have the streaming, but it's so subpar. It's not the desired experience. all of this makes perfect sense to be about emulation, and the fact they're hiring engineers for the sake of emulation. It's bound to happen, and then these peripherals being supported just widens the library that they could add to that emulator. So everything you're saying, boys, I have to echo everything. It just makes perfect sense.
Moving on. Davey, your last impression of the night. And I'm going to take it to a little game Spencer bought me, I believe, for Christmas. So we're going to Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey. I want your impression of Abe.
Quick news. Now, this article that I'm going to read from is from Push Square, and the article itself will be listed in the description of the podcast. So if you want to read this yourself, you can do. I'm going to read out 3 paragraphs from this. Let's go for it. God of War Ragnarok's release date was originally planned to be revealed on the 30th of June, but a change of plans behind the scenes means we'll have to wait. This delay was preempted by Sony Santa Monica's Cory Balrog overnight when he pleaded with fans for patience. Previously, social media sneakster, The Snitch, has riddled that an announcement was due on the 30th of June. That's been corroborated by reliable journalists Jason Schreier and Tom Henderson, both of whom have since reported that the announcement has been pushed back. Sony apparently has videos ready to run showcasing the game's collector's edition, while a PS blog post is apparently planned to confirm that development is progressing well. No new gameplay was scheduled, however. According to Henderson, writing for Executor, the collector's edition will feature a 1-to-1 replica of Mjolnir's hammer, as well as some badges and other pieces of paraphernalia. If you're not interested in those odds and ends, an alternate Jotner edition will be available with just the game and the aforementioned hammer. Guys, this is a rumour. This isn't confirmed by any stretch. From what we've seen, that Cory Balrog is insisting the game has not been delayed out of 2022. What do you think about this? What do you think about the fact that we could be getting a replica of Thor's hammer in the collector's edition?
It'd make me go for a collector's edition. It would. I'm looking at this, and there are a lot of reliable and unreliable sources on Twitter, namely, but the Snitch is quite infamous as of late, and there's a lot of theories behind him about what he could be. I think the most trusted one is that it's someone that works at YouTube, and what they see, because all of their leaks are based around this. It's around like presentations, and we think it's someone who works at YouTube and the unlisted videos, because when a presentation happens, all those trailers are already on YouTube to just unlisted, so they can't be seen. People think it's someone that works at YouTube that has these unlisted trailers visible, and they can just leak the shit out of them. They can see the thumbnail and the title and the description, and they just leak the shit out of everything, and it makes perfect sense. Because that is the case, because the Snitch is kind of corroborating with this, it seems to be true to me. I mean, and if it is true, a 1-to-1 replica of Mjolnir, that's hype as fuck. I mean, obviously it'd be like, what, styrofoam or just plastic or something shit, but it'd look cool. It'd look very fucking cool. And I enjoyed God of War, not as much as you boys, or definitely not you, Davey, but if that looks good, I might be buying it.
What about yourself, Phil?
As much as I enjoyed God of War, and I definitely will be playing Ragnarok when it does come out, I'm going to be very careful when it comes to collector's editions. We spoke about this many a time. My office is filling up, and this is the only real place in the house that I can place collector's edition models. And I've got one space left, and I'm holding that out for the Dead Island collector's edition when that comes out. Of course, we've all got to have that in our houses. So unfortunately, I think I'll probably be giving this a miss. I'll probably go for a steelbook, something like that, potentially, if they have like a sort of middle ground. But I don't think I'll be putting the hammer up on my shelf. I don't think I'm worthy enough to lift it anyway.
You're definitely not worthy enough, but that's why you put it up on the shelf. You put it up on the shelf so that, you know, when you need it cleaned, you just say, Laura, can you lift that for me? And she can easily lift it. She's way worthy enough for that. She'll lift it up. And she'll get the powers of Thor for that couple of minutes. And you say, just put it down, love. All right, it's too much. Show it off now. Just show it off, Laura. Put it down. She put it down for Soko powers, and you know, crack back on with whatever she's doing. Personally, for me, I'm always missing out on collector's editions that I really look back on in a few years' time, and I think, why didn't I go for that? Why didn't I do that? Why didn't I get the plasma cutter for Dead Space? This is one of those prime examples where I'm like, I need to get this. If this is true, I need to get this. Day one. Definite buy for me, unless it comes out at like 450 quid. You know, there's limits in there, you know? But if it comes out at like 220, something like that, that's fine. I'll go for it. But as soon as you start approaching 300, it becomes a bit more of a choice that I have to run by the wife. And I don't think she'll be too happy with me spending that amount of money on, as Spence said, probably a plasticine fucking hammer, you know? I don't think it's really going to go down too well. But we'll have to wait and see.
You're the same as me. We both missed out on the Dead Island bust, didn't we? And we've regretted that ever since. You've got to be very careful when collector's editions do come out. You have that opportunity. You've got to get them when it's good.
You just got to, sometimes when it's just a headless corpse of just tits, you just got to think to yourself, I'm going to look back on this in my old age and think, why didn't I do it? What was I thinking? Why? She had the Great Britain flag, the Union Jack, and those big tits with no head. But anyway, let's move it on to who won the quick news. Let's punish somebody with a shot and let's get on to the topics, lads. I normally start off with Spencer. I've given him the opening crown the last couple of times. Phil, I want to start with you. Who do you reckon did the best? Who do you reckon did the worst?
Spencer, I threw you the biggest bone. Metal Gear Solid, mate. He's so quotable. Davey does Solid Snake quotes on the daily. He'd do one now for you, and it'd be brilliant.
All you had to do, Spence, was say, Metal Gear. Fine. I thought you were going to give him a hard one. I thought you were going to give him maybe, get him working a little bit for it. Maybe give him the Cyborg Ninja, give him Grey Fox, or, hurt me, Snake. More. But you didn't. You went straight for Snake straight up, and you did half of the game over.
I preloaded these, and I made a little list and thought, we'll be nice to Spence. So let's give him Metal Gear Solid, because it's a game we played recently. We all love Metal Gear. It's a big winner for me and Davey, right? If you do any quote, we're going to absolutely love it. And I thought, Falcon Raven, that's a pretty good quote, right? He's got some memorable lines. But I thought, do you know what? That's actually probably too difficult for you. You could just put a gruff voice, just give us a bit of Snake.
A bit of Snake.
And
just
what did
on
you
his
do?
deathbed. Trust me, boys, listen. As Davey said during his impression of the intro to PS2, it's hard to do multiple things at once. I thought, seeing as I sorted Davey out in the last episode with that edit, I think I did a pretty good job. Right? A bit of effort went into that. It's quite good. All you got to do in post is add the Snake, and that will be a perfect impression. I did my best. I had to sacrifice the snakes to give my all to the dying, to the death.
The problem is, when I did Sniper Wolf, I did the full impression, and it's still on its own, but it was elevated by post, very much elevated by post, right? Elevated by the background music, by the VO, whereas yours relies entirely on the VO because it's just you lying down and just going ugh, and that's it. That's it. So you're going with Spencer for your worst then, Phil.
It feels cruel, but I think it's justified.
What about your best?
I think it's your impression, Davey, of the Tony Hawk's music. I wasn't expecting you to go for Blood Brothers, but I've now rediscovered how much I love Papa Roach, and I was singing along. I had it on mute, obviously. I didn't want to help you out, and I'll be caning that album on the way to work next week.
Fair enough. So, Spencer, I'll give you a chance to retort against Phil. What would you say is your best and your worst?
It has to be the Wampa Fruit, the Crash Bandicoot.
I haven't played it since PlayStation 1, so I've not got a clue even what it sounds like. But then, there was a lot of impressions, I feel like, that people did and didn't know the context and didn't know the reference points, because your Uncharted was pretty bad as well.
You ain't seen the film, bro. You ain't seen the film. It was in there, bro. Trust me, it was in there.
But I'll take it if you want to, put me out to roast there. With the Wampa Fruit, I'll admit defeat.
I wanted to give it to Davey, but I can't. So I have to say your Wampa Fruit, mate. I do apologise. However, Phil, as much as I have to give you the worst one for your Wampa Fruit, I'm also gifting you the best one for your Scorpion. Because that Scorpion, if I closed my eyes, I was getting a kunai through the chest. That was great. Very much appreciated that, Phil.
Thank you very much. I'll take that. This leaves us to you, Davey. You've got to make the choice, I guess.
Oh, come on, guys. I mean, it's a bit of a hard one, right? Because in isolation, Phil's Wampa Fruit was awful. It was really bad. That Metal Gear, it was just an act against God. It was just so bad, dude. It was terrible. You could have literally If you didn't want to make a noise, you could have got a cardboard box, chucked it on your head, and I probably would have given you 4 points. I'd be like, yes, that works.
Where would I get a cardboard box from at 11:20 at night?
You've got to think about your creativity, and unfortunately, Spencer, your physicality let it down. And speaking of physicality, Phil, pulling in the rope with Scorpion, perfect physicality. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a great impression. Again, well done. Well done.
Thanks, mate. I seem to be doing pretty well at this. I don't think my impressions are that good, but I'm back-to-back winner at the moment. Something's going to need to change. I mean, we tried, Spence.
You did.
We really
Yeah,
tried
you
with
really
you
did.
today.
To be fair, boys, I'm struggling. Phil, you're exceptional at the impressions. You don't big yourself up enough. You're Death Stranding, baby. Jesus, phenomenal. You're Kunai, phenomenal for Scorpion. You smash it, mate. I'll accept being the worst impressionist of the podcast, because let's be honest, out of all the things to get you far in life, impressions, I'll lose that. That's fine.
And on that sentimental, life-changing note, time to move it on to the topics. Breaking news, and I can't believe that this has happened today. The last topic you just heard on Quick News was God of War and these supposed delays for this announcement. Turns out we're now on Wednesday, so we're in totally different clothes. We're completely different time frame. I look absolutely exhausted because I've been editing this episode like a madman, same as you guys have. And now we've got the God of War announcement. Jesus Christ. So what we now know is that God of War is coming out on November 9th for the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Definitely coming this year, which is super, super hype. And they've also announced a range of collector's editions. Now, we spoke about in the last bit of news that you've just listened to about the fact that there was this supposed hammer and would we get it and things like that. Well, we don't know price, which is a kind of deal breaker here. But we do have the rundown on all the different versions of God of War that you can purchase. Now, Spencer, you're normally the guy that reads these lists out. Do you want to go through these things?
There's 4 editions. The standard edition, which is obviously just the game, either PS4, PS5. Digital Deluxe Edition, which is the full God of War Ragnarok game on PS4 and PS5. Kratos Darkdale Armor. Atreus Darkdale attire. It's different. Darkdale Blades handles for the Blades of Chaos. Darkdale Axe Grip for the Leviathan Axe. Official God of War Ragnarok digital soundtrack. Dark Horse digital mini art book. An avatar set and a PS4 theme. And now all the future, or all the next editions of God of War will also feature all of this as well. So the next one we have is the collector's edition. And we have a printed voucher code for the God of War Ragnarok game. So you don't actually get the disc, you don't get a physical edition. But you get a steelbook display case. 2-inch veneer twin carvings. Dwarven die set. And a 16-inch Mjolnir replica. And of course everything included in the last edition. And the big one, the Jotnar edition. Comes with a code for the game. 7-inch vinyl record with music by Bear McCreary. The Falcon, Bear and Wolf pin set. The legendary Draupnir ring. Brock's die set. An Yggdrasil cloth map. Steelbook display case. And then the 2-inch veneer twin carvings and a 16-inch Mjolnir replica as well. And that is everything they feature.
What a list. Jesus Christ. Now, the unboxing video where they have Thor's voice actor there going through the different collections, the difference between the Jotnar collection and the collector's edition, it just really struck me just how beautiful that collection looks. Like, I shelled out for the Horizon collector's edition, and, you know, I got my Tremor Tusk, which I was super impressed by. And the box was cool, but it wasn't that cool. It was kind of just like a massive version of the game in a box form. And then when you opened it up, the way the Tremor Tusk was kind of positioned looked cool in there, but as soon as you take it out, it kind of loses all meaning. Whereas that box, to me, just the way it like opened up with the different sleeves, and it was all from that 2018 game. Bro, I was super, super impressed by this. What were your thoughts on seeing these impressions? And before we know price, which we'll come on to in a second in terms of how much we think that's going to be, did any of these wow you? What kind of version do you think you're going for? Phil, let's start with yourself.
I'm up to date when it comes to what's included in each of the boxes. I watched the presentation earlier from the voice actor, Thor himself, from God of War Ragnarok. And I must say, Spence, you've got to up your game a little bit when you're doing these impressions. You've got to work on that gruff voice when you're saying, in the knowledge, keep a shrine. You'll have a 16-inch Mjolnir replica from God of War Ragnarok. And my God, it is a beautiful set. It's not something personally I'm that excited about because I am less invested in the series as you guys. I'll probably just be going for the standard PS5 edition, although I have been hearing that you can buy the PS4 edition and upgrade for just £10. So probably that's the cheapest way of getting it, but I'll probably just go for the PS5. So I got it nice there on my shelf.
What about yourself, Spence? What are you thinking? Which one do you think is going to kind of injure your wallet?
See, that is the question, and the way you worded it is very apt because we don't know how deep it's going to sink its teeth into our wallets. If I was to go for a special edition, it definitely wouldn't be the Jotnar. It would be just a bog standard collector's edition, because other than the cloth map and the ring, I don't really see much point, and I bet the price difference is going to be like 60 quid. So 60 quid for a bit of cloth and a ring. It's not really worth it in my eyes, and that's just a guess, to be fair. So it could be less, could be more, who knows. But I think you boys should remember, or Davey, you should definitely remember, when I played God of War, I found it boring. I didn't enjoy the game until like the very end of the game. And that was only when I started appreciating it. And the lore was fantastic. I adored all of that. It was just, I guess, the slow pacing and the action that bored me until I kind of got to grips with it a bit more later on in the game. If I could get just a steelbook, I would do that. But seeing as from this list I can't, I'll likely just be getting the PS5 version. And like Phil said, I would do the PS4 version and upgrade because it's probably cheaper. But I like having PS5 on the title, so I'll definitely be getting the actual PS5 version.
I really wish they did a steelbook version because I would be having that one. And you're right, the difference between the Jotnar version and the standard collector's edition, it's not really a lot. You know, you get Brock's dice, you get a ring, you get some pin badges, and I think you get a soundtrack. I think that's the difference between the two. And yeah, I wouldn't be pushed to spend that extra buck on it, but of course we don't know the pricing on all that. How about yourself, Davey? What are you thinking?
Oh, for me, it's straight up Jotnar. Jotnar impression. I'm going top. I'm going top tier on this. When they were unboxing everything, the collector's edition, I was like, oh, these are nice. These are cool. These are great. But then as soon as he pulled out that vinyl, I was like, oh, man. Like, okay. Like, that would look quite nice in a little frame. And then I was like, oh, the cloth map. I love a cloth map. I got a Dark Souls 3 cloth map with my collector's edition on that. I love that thing. And so I was like, oh, nice Idrisil cloth map. And I bet you, if we were smarter about this, we could have paused the video at that point and had a quick little look at all the different realms that are there and really kind of studied them. But maybe we'll save that for the next episode. The way it's going to go is I'm going to get that giant ass box, put it down, take out the hammer, put that on the side, take the game case out, put that on the shelf. The rest of it is going up in the attic, unopened. And the reason is, and this is something I've learned very recently actually, the difference in the Regalia edition of Horizon and the edition I've got was 60 quid. The difference now to buy that is like 150 odd quid. It's gone up in value so much more. And I'm thinking, even though I wouldn't want to sell these on, it's quite nice to know that they're actually worth a little bit more. And if I do decide, you know, if I change location at any point, if I change, you know, my living situation, or if I somehow get more space or anything, it's just a really nice, big ass, thick boy box that I could just put out and it just looks cool. If I'm going for it, I'm going for it. And I suppose it all comes down to price.
There is definitely an investment opportunity here, isn't there? Because collector's editions of games, notable games for consoles, and this will definitely be one of them, regardless if this game is a 10 out of 10, which we're all expecting it to be, or it just flops. People are still going to want to have this years in the future, so it could be quite a nice investment opportunity. But Davey, I think once you get the box, you want to stand there and try to summon Mjolnir. I thought you'd be shouting "Hammer!" at the box to see if it would come to your hand, to see if you're worthy enough.
I think we've all learned from this podcast, especially this episode, how dark my heart is, really. Like, if I was given any sort of power, straight up villain. Like, straight up villain. Spence is looking for some retribution. Don't blame me, blame God, Spencer. You can't be salty about it now. It's been 2 days since, all right? I know for listeners, you're still getting to this. Probably the pain of Spencergate is still quite raw to you, but I've forgotten about it. It's in the past now. Get over it, Spence. But yes, I think there's no chance in hell that I'd actually be able to physically lift that hammer. So maybe I'll just have to ask the wife to do it. Or Cassian. He's pure of heart. He could probably do it. He could probably lift it, no problem. And then, when he gets the powers of Thor and starts striking down or smiting me, then maybe I'll regret buying the Jotnar edition, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Now, guys, speaking of price, when we look at these different editions, obviously for the base game, you're talking £60, £70, I imagine, just like all PlayStation 5 games are. And then when you go into digital edition, digital deluxe, they're normally coming in about like £75, maybe £80, £10 extra. Going up from that, we get into like the collector's edition and the Jotnar edition. What kind of pricing do you think they'll go for these? Or what do you think is kind of a reasonable price? Spence, what do you reckon?
Oh, it's hard to estimate, but we always do. Standard we know is going to be 70. It is. That's just what games are now, especially first party. So, launch edition game, 70 quid, easy. Digital deluxe, probably extra 10, 15 quid. So what, 85 quid, maybe 90 quid, maybe just 80. Collector's edition is such a big jump. Usually there's a middle ground, but the middle ground in this case has a Mjolnir. It's not a middle ground at all. It's a close to extreme, and then there's an extreme. So I would estimate, collectors being, oh, this sucks, 160. And I would estimate Jotnar being about 200.
Okay, fair enough. What about yourself, Phil? Where are you falling on this?
It's a very difficult one because I haven't bought many collector's editions, and the one I have recently, I bought that after the time of release, so I paid probably a little bit extra from it, and I actually had to import it from the States. And I paid around £150 for it, give or take with the exchange rate. So yeah, I'm thinking the collector's edition is probably going to be around the 160, and I think the top price one is going to be pushing 180. That's where I'm going to go.
Wow, I'd be chuffed as hell if it's hitting those, because I've got a feeling it's going to be a lot more. I'm looking at, for the game that can't be mentioned, Village, that collector's edition there was ridiculous. I think that was like £330 odd pound or something. It was like crazy money. It was like big stacks. I reckon this is going to come out for the collector's edition coming out at $199, and the maybe what I'll give you a little range. I reckon $199 to $230, and the Jotnar edition coming in at $300. I reckon $299, and this is dollars now, so slightly less for us over here in the UK exchange rate wise, but dollar ratio I reckon from anywhere from $199 to $230 for the collectors, and then pushing 300, coming up to 300, 299, around about there, I reckon, for Jotnar.
So you're going to sit on the fence as much as you can.
I think, I'm definitely pushing the bar compared to you guys. I mean, my collector's edition, I'm saying, is, more than you're saying the Jotnar edition is. But the Jotnar, I'm putting an extra $100 on it. So, yeah, I'm going big deal on this. I'm going like $299 for the Jotnar.
But what's in there, really, to boost the price that much?
Just rarity, bro.
It's not going to be rare, is it? They're going to be banging these out. It's going to be the most hyped game now for the rest of the year. There's going to be thousands of versions. It's not like a limited edition, is it? It's a special edition.
There's still only a limited number of them made, so it is kind of a rarity. But that's just my guess, anyway. I mean, I hope to God I'm wrong, and I hope it falls more in line with you guys, because that would, Jesus Christ, I'd jump on a yacht without even thinking about it, without even consulting the wife and begging, and be like, oh, I'll buy you that bag you want, even though I wouldn't be able to afford it if yacht is 300 quid. But she doesn't have to know that. She can find that out later after I got the hammer, and after I'm like, Cassian, sicker. And then he can't wield the hammer anymore because he's turned evil, But such is life. Now, moving it back onto the kind of bigger news from this, rather than the collector's edition, the date. We finally know now that God of War is coming out on the 9th of November. How do we feel about that release date? It's 2 weeks after COD, coming out on the 28th of October. I can't really think of anything else that's launching in November that's a real big deal. I don't know if you want to just pull up a list of game releases around about November time.
Nothing. Fuck all. Harvestella, Humankind, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Autopsy Simulator, Clash Artifacts of Chaos, Aspire 2, Candria, and Pentiment.
Wow. So really, it's only Pokemon they're going up against, because, Pokemon's going to outsell God of War without a shadow of a doubt. It always does. So there's going to be no difference there. So actually, it looks like a really good time to release this game, which is quite shocking. Now, I know that when we originally made predictions of when the game was going to launch, I was saying it was going to be the last week of October into the first week of November. So I was slightly off on that, a couple of days out. They always I swear they listen to the show and they're just like, just put it 2 days later so he doesn't get any, so we can't say Davey was right on this. It's always the way. It's always the way. How are we feeling about that release date, guys?
Spence, I got a quick question for you. Does that mean Davey's got to take a shot, seeing as he got the date wrong?
We all put up dates, if I remember right. We all put up dates, and I can't remember what yours or mine were. I think I said December, but it was a case of whoever got it right would be able to give one out. I don't know if we said closest, because if we said closest, then Davey wins, and that's that's bad.
I mean, I'll take that if that's what we're going for with this. But normally we're pretty specific. It's got to be within those dates. So I'm quite happy, taking an L on this one, same as you guys.
We'll have to review the tapes anyway. But the 9th of November is perfect for me. My birthday's on the 14th. There's my birthday present. Done. Sorted. Simple. Just buy me the standard edition PS5 version of God of War Ragnarok.
Nice. What about yourself, Spence? Are you excited for that date? Do you reckon that's a good time to launch it, seeing as it is pretty close to COD? Do you think it's going to have any impact on it at all?
I don't think it will affect COD, because as much as there probably is some cross between, there won't be a lot. There are COD diehards, and those are the ones that buy it every year. Those are the ones that give it the numbers. I think November 9th as a date for God of War, if I had to have guessed now, after how long it's been since we actually predicted, I probably would have guessed around November 11th. So it's very close to what I'd imagine it would launch at. And in terms of single player experiences, it's competing with nothing. It's standing on its own. And even if it was competing with other single player experiences, it would win. They've only just amplified the sales by just eliminating it from the competition that it would already dominate in. It's in its own league. So what a perfect date. And I've reconsidered. Now that you said you're going to buy Yotnar, I'm not even going to buy the game. You're going to have the downloadable version. I'll just play yours.
Yeah, you could do, but then you won't get it on the shelf, though. And there is something nice about having it on the shelf. Although I did want to circle back before we move on to the other bit of kind of breaking news from today, because there's apparently two crazy stories happened the day before another episode goes live. Spencer, you mentioned about how when you played God of War, you didn't enjoy it when you played it. Do you think that your perception may have changed since then? Because that was back in 2018 that game came out. At the time, you weren't even into The Last of Us then. These kind of... your taste seems to have evolved quite a lot, or not so much evolved, but changed quite a lot over the last couple of years compared to where it was back in 2018. Do you think now is quite a good time for you to go back and maybe revisit God of War and see if your opinion has changed on it at all?
I've already planned it, mate. I'm going to revisit God of War before Ragnarok comes out. I've literally thought about it early on today when I saw the release date. I said, well, I've got to play God of War again now. I maybe go for the platinum, maybe just play it again, just refresh it in my mind. And the more I played the game, the more I enjoyed it. So it might just be a case of, when I get back to it, I already now have a good impression of the game. Not a great one, but a good impression of the game. And it might just get elevated from there. And I loved the story. I loved most of the aspects of the game. It was just a bit, I wouldn't say long, but just slowly paced for my liking, which is fine because it was telling the story it had to tell. I'm very much looking forward to playing this game again. And I'm excited. I'm excited to play it. I'm genuinely excited.
Well, it's been a long time since I've played it. Phil's very recent, actually, from playing it only a few months back, so you probably don't need a refresher. But for me, it's been, 4 years. So I'm looking forward to getting into it and seeing the kind of updates that have come from the newer patches and getting it in 4K and getting it, 60 and it being like all shiny and lovely and new. And just re-experiencing that game again. I think I know it really well, but that's sometimes one of the best experiences is when you think you know it well, and then you're like, oh, I forgot about this. I forgot about this bit. This bit's awesome. And then it all starts kind of flooding back to you. And I mean, for me, the God of War theme tune that Bill McCready put out just sets me into goosebumps. And the moment where you go and get the Blaze of Chaos is just seared into my brain. It's one of those like hypest moments ever as a fan of the original games. So I really want to do that again. I'm definitely going to do it. I don't know when. I'm probably going to be kind of gearing towards doing it maybe in like September, I think. So I got a couple of months break then before the game comes out, but it's still really fresh. I think that's how it's going to go for me. Listeners, how do you feel about God of War? Are you excited we finally know the release date? Which collection are you going to go for? Write into the email. Let us know. pswetrust@gmail.com. And so the final piece of our breaking news is Forspoken. A game that was supposed to be coming out in October. For a stacked month, there was going to be Forspoken, Plague Tale, Call of Duty. They've decided to dip until January 24th, 2023. Now, this is what the team said, and this was on Twitter earlier on today. As a result of ongoing discussions with key partners, we've made the strategic decision to move the launch date of Forspoken to January 24th, 2023. All game elements are now complete, and development is in its final polishing phase. We would like to thank you for your continued support and patience on this journey. Your excitement for the game inspires us every day, and we cannot wait to share more about Forspoken with you later this summer. Thoughts on this, guys? Spence, I know that you were very excited to get into Forspoken, same as me. It was a game that we were definitely going to be picking up day one. And now we got to wait till January. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, so I remember when Forspoken was first ever shown off, and obviously it was first shown off like when we first saw the PS5, and it was shown off as Project Athia. And I remember when we saw that, I said, there's no way that is ever a real game. Not a chance in hell. And then my mind got blown because they showed it off with a title, a release date. It's happening. The game's coming out. The game was actually supposed to come out in May, I'm pretty sure. And then it got pushed back from May to October. Then it got delayed again from October to now January. I would be concerned about this. However, they said in their tweet that the game's finished. And similar to what they're doing with FF16, it's a case of they just want to polish it and get the game right for launch, which I admire and respect so much. I don't mind waiting a few more months if it means that game's going to be phenomenal at launch, rather than kind of a Days Gone situation where the game comes out a bit rough but is great a few months down the line. I'd be happy to wait because I'm busy enough as is. It's fine. I'm hype as fuck for Forspoken, but I don't mind waiting. If the game comes out phenomenal, bless.
What about yourself, Phil?
To be honest, mate, this one wasn't really on my radar. I find it quite hard to sort of jump on these new IPs and get hype about something that I haven't really seen a lot on. Of course, we've seen the little bits and pieces, the trailers and things like that, but it's not struck the right chord with me at the moment. I do feel really sorry, though, for the people who have pre-ordered the game, because that's been available now on PS5 and PC for a while. So people have handed over their cash, and now they've got to wait till January. I'd be pissed off if I had pre-ordered this game.
I think it just comes with the territory, though, now. we're always saying, and Spence is always saying this, that, games are always getting delayed. They really are. And you can't really count on anything really hitting the date that is set. And it's only when it does hit that you're like, oh, that was a nice surprise. I mean, for myself, I've pre-ordered Callisto, and that comes out in December. If that gets pushed into next year, I'm not going to feel like, oh, I could have spent that money somewhere else. I'm just like, well, I'll get it when I get it. At least I've already paid for it. It's done. It's out the way. I know I'm getting it, hopefully on release day. And that's my mindset anyway.
But is there any other product that you'd be okay with this? Say you paid up front for, I don't know, a new pair of trainers that were dropping next month, and they delayed the trainers? Would you not be writing to Nike and complaining about that?
I think the only things that I would kick off and complain about was like a flight ticket. When that gets delayed, that's like a real pain in the arse because everything's kind of based around that. Now, of course, there is a caveat to that because in some places, you put holiday requests in and you only got a certain amount of time to be able to get that holiday, that window in for those dates. And somebody could have said, right, well, I'm booking a week off in May. I'm going to book a week off in May. Play Forspoken is going to be awesome. May comes and goes. They've had a week off where they've just done fuck all, right? They just bummed around the house and thought, oh, well, never mind. I'll get it in October. Put the holiday request in for October. That comes and goes. And you think, Jesus Christ, what is going on? And now January, you got to put it in for the next year's holidays and hope you get them. And that's the only kind of downside to these delays in realistic terms. The rest of it, I don't think is too much of an issue. I kind of fall down the same line as Spence here, that if you put a game out, your first impression has got to be a good one. And if you put it out and it's a really, especially with a brand new IP like this, you've got to come out swinging and you've got to make a name for yourself. And January years ago used to be a really quiet month, used to be a real dead month. And we've seen some of the biggest games of the year in years gone by come out in the first 3 months of the year. So I think you can really find yourself in a really good window. If you put out a strong game, it can kind of set in motion the rest of the year, and then it's always in the conversation. You think about Elden Ring, it came out, in like February, and it's still on the tip of everyone's tongue because of how good that experience was. And if you can come out with a brand new IP, set the stage there that everything's going to be compared to for the rest of the year, it's only going to do good for you. But I'm sure in the next episode, we're going to be revisiting these with any additional news that we uncover, especially when it comes down to Ragnarok and the additional realms that we can see on that lovely collector's edition. I'm sure we'll be talking about that next time. Let's return to the show.
Stop! Topic time!
Okay, so for the first topic of the evening, we're talking about PlayStation Plus. Of course, the relaunch that hit the US and pretty much the rest of the world a few weeks back has finally landed on the UK shores and Europe. So it went live for us on the 23rd of June. Now, with this upgrade, you now get access to 3 different tiers of PlayStation Plus. Those tiers are PlayStation Plus Essential, PlayStation Plus Extra, and PlayStation Plus Premium. 3 different tiers, 3 different ways we can take this conversation. First question I got to ask you, Philip Hoyer, come across to yourself. Have you upgraded to any of the additional tiers past PlayStation Plus Essential?
Well, I think it comes as no surprise to our listeners, our viewers, that I haven't. I tend not to be an early adopter when it comes to these digital services, these add-ons. Generally, I use my PlayStation to play single-player games. I tend not to do too much of the multiplayer, although you have convinced me to do the initial level of PS Plus, so I can play a little bit of online with you guys. I don't think I've got my money's worth of that yet, but that's yet to see over the days. I'm sure you're rolling your eyes as I speak, because you're like, oh, you did play Remnant though, didn't you? But I've subscribed twice now. So I've had 2 years subscription and we've played a handful of games. I don't think it's worth it. But anyway, I digress. I know you guys, you've obviously signed up. You've probably gone for the top tiers. I'm going to give you the opportunity here to convince me. You like to talk me into these services. So let's have it. Why should I be subscribing to the top tier? Let me have it.
I upgraded. I'm on the premium. So I skipped the extra and got straight to the top tier. Granted, I did so because PlayStation have a thing where for the remainder of your membership, which for me was something like 150 something days, so about half a year, bit less than half a year, I could upgrade, and it only cost me something like £18 to have a premium membership for the rest of my membership. So I thought, bargain. Yeah, I'll do that, because then all I have to do is play Ghosts or Guardians or any of the plethora of the 800 titles that are there. And then it's probably worth my £18 if I play them within the rest of my membership. If I don't, I don't. Again, it doesn't really matter. The issue is, Phil, is that it's a player-to-player basis. I would love to be able to convince you to get premium, because obviously if I did so, we would have so many more games that as a trio, we could all play together. And it would be huge. However, I know you. You're my friend. I'd say we're quite close friends. A lot of those games probably wouldn't take your fancy. I know you're sparse for time. Essential, to me, seems like the right tier for you. However, being someone that kind of every moment I get, I want to be playing a game, and pie off my missus, she's like, oh, can I see you this weekend? I'm like, no. I'm playing games. Stay home. I don't say that. I barely play games anymore because she's always down. It's unfortunate, but that's what I want to be doing. I want me and Davey in a call playing whatever, because that's the best time.
Get your missus on World of Warcraft, and I tell you, you'll be the one chasing her for time. I've never had this much free time in my life, and I kind of don't like it. I'm now thinking that I need her to bug me a little bit, so I become that bug. You know, I've been bugging her. Should we hang out? Should we watch Stranger Things tonight? Should we do this? Why don't I show you the boys? Have you watched the boys yet? Let me show you the boys. She's like, man, I got a raid with my clan. Should we go out for a nice romantic meal? Sorry, my guild. We're farming to get Joe up to so we can get his legendary sword. Oh, all right. I'll go back to playing the Evil Within. I'm sorry to disturb you, honey.
So the trick is you've got to get her working for the sword, Spence.
I don't want to do that. I'll tell you now. I definitely don't want to do that. Well, all I need to do is bide my time until Hogwarts Legacy comes out. And then, bam. That's a women's time consumer right there. I know for a fact. My missus loves the Harry Potter world. Everyone's missus does. So, and if they don't, they're weird. It's just a women thing. She's going to be absorbed. And it's going to be a case of, she always messages me. She's like, why aren't you talking to me? Do you hate me? And I'm busy playing games. And it's going to be a case of, she's not messaging me. However, will I give a fuck? Absolutely not. I'll be busy playing, Modern Warfare 2, the new Call of Duty that's just come out. I'm going to be buzzing.
Sorry to interrupt you, Spence. You're meant to be convincing me to get into the service. We're not doing therapy here.
I know. I trailed off. I did trail off. But we'll go back. I think this service is entirely a player-player basis, and I think that's why it's smart that they've introduced it into 3 tiers. Obviously, for you, for the kind of person who plays the games they specifically want to play and doesn't play often, I would say Essential is probably the main tier. However, and this sucks, right? Because I love you, mate, and I love playing games with you. I don't even think that's Essential. I'd just call it PS Plus. Essential is just having the PlayStation, because a lot of the games you play are single player, and you're not even a trophy hunter. You can earn trophies without a membership. You don't need a membership.
There we go. You agree with me. Finally.
I do. But me as a person, I like playing video games with you, Phil. So I want you to have this membership. And obviously the more games, the merrier. So I want you to have premium. If you don't have it, well, not even premium, extra. You don't need premium, extra, because that's the PS4, PS5 catalogue. Those are the games we can play online. I think extra would be suitable to you. Premium's a bit too much, because I know you love your classic games. You love your throwbacks, but I know you like owning them rather than having them in a digital library. So that's not for you. Extra, I think, is the purchase you should make and the upgrade you should make. But that's down to you. Davey, mate, do you have a better way of putting this than I do?
I think so. Yeah, when you look at the options, I think Essential is essential. I think Essentials is essential for everyone, regardless if you're not playing games that much with us online. I think the fact that you get to have the sales on the store and you get like double discounts, I think that's always a really useful feature, as well as the fact that you get to have your cloud saves uploaded to the cloud. I think that's saved my ass a couple of times in the past. And I think now, actually, Phil, you're turning a point where you actually are starting to become more of a trophy hunter. I think you are. I don't think you've really admitted it to yourself yet, but I know you really like the thrill of getting these platinums and going for like the Guardians platinum, going back for the Mars platinum, stuff like that. I think that you're a stone's throw away from taking it to the next level. And I think the only issue you've got at the moment is that you've got a lot on right now. And you're in this period of time in the summer where your time's tight, and that's fair. But that's not all year round, and you're going to get to a point where you will be looking for the next big thing to play. And Essential's good because it means that whenever there's something that comes out that is multiplayer, you don't have to think, oh God, I can't play the online because I don't have Essential. You've got it there. And then any games that do come up on Essential is a bonus to you. And all it takes, we've said this 100 times before on the podcast, all it takes is 2 games over a 12-month period, and that $49.99 has paid itself off. It's not a big deal, right? You think about this month, you got Crash, you got Madame Medan. There you go, done. Paid off already for the year. That's all it takes. My argument for you, and it's very much a case of time's tight, and I get that. But there's 2 ways you could go about this. Now, extra, I think, in as much as the extra cost to upgrade to that is an extra 30 quid. The cost of that would pay itself off by taking one of my game recommendations, which I'm on a pretty good path with you right now, with saying different games, and that would be Ghost Tsushima Director's Cut. It's one of the best games on PlayStation 4, hands down. I think it's a game that I know you'll enjoy, and for the fact that that's 70 quid to buy brand new, for 30 quid you get to have that entire game. You get to have that game experience.
Yeah, that's 30 quid to rent the game, isn't it? I am a game collector. I like having physical. I like having things on my shelf. I sort of pride myself on, going down to CX, getting a couple of bargains. It was only last week, I believe it was, that I bought the entire Dead Space series for £11. Now, you can't argue with that quality.
That is very true. However, what it means is that instead of you having to buy a game and it sit on your shelf endlessly, what it would mean is being on the rental system is that it would kind of give you a bit of an onus to complete it or to actually see it through and to put some time into it, rather than it being added to your backlog to never see the light of day ever again, or 5 years down the line. You could think, right, well, I've got it on there, I've got this subscription, let's get it done, let's play it. I may have a finite time that I've got to play this game, and it might make you see through a couple of games, and then if you think, do you know what, I love that, I really enjoyed that, I'm going to buy that and add it to my collection. And I think that's one good thing about it. The only pro I can see for you getting premium, the only advantage would be for Spoilercast from the past. That's the only advantage, because when you look at some of the games that we may eventually pick for Spoilercast from the past, say, for example, someone put up Paper Escape. Which version are you going to want to play? Do you want to play it on your CRT where it looks like arse, or do you want to kind of upscale the nice and get some trophies from it as well? That's the only thing. I think it's quite a bit of a thin line. I think I'm going to fall in the same line as Spencer in that extra seems to be the best tier for yourself, because it means that there's a whole host of games I could recommend to you from the extra tier. And I think for a 30 quid difference, it's a kind of a no-brainer, because all it takes is one game. And currently on there, from what I'm seeing, there's at least 4 or 5 games I could reel off the top of my head right now for you that I could recommend you to play. But it comes down to time. So I think Essential is a great tier to be on. I think that is essential for PlayStation. I think you kind of have to be on that. And then moving up from there, it kind of depends on your time schedule. And so as you move more into the rest of the year, events start dying off, the nights start drawing in, you're looking just to get coochie up with the missus, she's wanting to watch Big Brother or whatever it is, and you think, I don't really want to do that. It gives you something else to do. And so that's why that would be my argument for you.
I can't be the only one out there that sort of is a bit skeptical when it comes to these subscription services. There might be new people coming to the system, just got their PS5 after, luckily walking into a shop, picking it up, and they've seen this on offer. How would you convince them come into the service? Because they're in a different place to me. They don't have the big back catalogue that I would have. Do you think they need to come in at the premium tier, or do you think they work their way up?
I think they have no reason to come in at premium. No reason whatsoever. They come in at the extra tier. The extra tier gives them a whole plethora of games for PS4 and PS5. The games that, if they're brand new to PlayStation as a whole, I see the point in premium, because you do get the classics. But that's not what they're going to want to be spending their time on. They want what's new. They want what's big. If they go extra, they have Ghosts, they have Spider-Man, they have Returnal, they have Demon Souls, they have an absolute fuck load of games.
So take, for example, Potato Chief. He's just joined the PlayStation family. Even though he's been on the podcast multiple times, we have forced him into buying a PlayStation. But he went out and bought all these games. It could have saved him a butt ton of money if he had signed up for this subscription.
100%. 100% could have saved him loads of money. The only issue, as Davey said earlier, is that when you have it on a subscription, it is a time-limited thing. Because even though Lewis has just bought a PS5, he might have bought it and already been half through a game on Xbox. So he might have the PlayStation, think, I need to get halfway through this, and then, fuck knows, maybe Xbox might finally release a game. And then he's going to be playing that. And by the time maybe he gets to Demon Souls or Returnal, maybe it will be off the subscription. Maybe it won't be on the service. And that's kind of the risk that comes with it. I think if you're new to PS5 or even PS4, and I think you need to eye up the games you want to play already. You kind of need to look into the service, see what games are listed, dive in, and you have to make it kind of your gaming focus to just kind of tick off games that you know are classics and games that are infamous in the ecosystem.
Or alternatively, you use this as kind of just a test bed, really. You know, you would have the service initially, so you can go out and go, what games do I actually like, right? You might have come from a different ecosystem. You might be a PC guy. You might be a Nintendo guy, you know, and you might be very new to PlayStation. You might not understand the IPs. And the choice is endless when it comes to PlayStation. There are so many incredible games within the consoles that we love. And to have all that on offer, it's mind-blowing, right? You don't know where to start. So I could see these subscription services being invaluable to a new person to PlayStation, because you get to try these games before you buy and then buy them, because that, as you said, Spence, they do go off the service and you would lose access to them. If you got halfway through Ghost, for example, and then you lost it for whatever, they moved it off the service, it might be an opportunity where you go, do you know what, I love that game, now I'll buy that game.
I think that's exactly it. And I think you think about the amount of people that have gotten into the Souls series because of Elden Ring. And they've never played a Souls game before, but now they've got Demon Souls on there. Perfect chance to cut your teeth on it and to see if you like it, rather than you spend the 70-odd quid or 50-odd quid, whatever you can get it for these days, on that game. It would be a thing that, for a gaming challenge for us, if Phil upgraded to Extra, I could say, right, for a gaming challenge, I want you to get through Castle Boletaria. I want to see you get through that. You've got an hour, right? And that would be a gaming challenge. We could just dive into that. And that would just be fun, right? It would be like nice little content for us, but it'd be a fun little way. And if I was a kid, if I was like 16, 17, 18, even in my early 20s, and I had time, I would lap this up even more than I already do, because you've just got endless choice. And I find myself now, I've gone into this service and I've downloaded My Friend Pedro, I've downloaded the 2 South Park games that I haven't got to, downloaded Blood Dragon from PlayStation 3 that was remastered with PS4. All these games that I've thought about buying for a long time and never bought it, never just pulled the trigger. And now I've got them there. And now it's like, what do I do? What do I do first? And the choice is so much that it's quite a hard thing to know where to begin and where to pick. I think for somebody who's coming brand new into the ecosystem, Premium makes the most sense for me, because you get the chance for the game trials, so you get to see what's coming up. You know, if you've never had a next-gen console before, you get to try out Cyberpunk, you get to try out WWE, you get to try out Horizon, you get to try out Uncharted, Lost Legacy Collection. You get to try out these games and have like 2 hours into them, and then see if you want to make the purchase. And I think for an extra 50 quid to have these game trials as well as the back catalogue, so that somebody doesn't turn around to you when you're 15. You know what it's like when you're like 15, 16, you're very protective over your hobbies, and somebody, you know, you'd be into metal, someone say, oh, what, you haven't listened to the Black Album by Metallica? You can't call yourself a metal fan. And so you feel like as if you have to kind of do that. Well, being into gaming, at least then, if you're coming in at 15, 16, you could say that you've played some of the classics that are here. And you've got the best possible way to really kind of do those. I think there's something to that. I really do. I think time's the biggest thing. And if you've got unlimited time or a big time budget, why not go for premium and get the most amount of value for money from it? Because I think, unfortunately for me, I paid pretty much for the 12 months. It cost me £40. I did my trick and got it for about 35 with top cash back and with other sites. And that's fine by me. I'm quite happy to spend an extra 35 quid. In fact, I've already got my money's worth from it. But, if you've got more time than me, it's only going to be more valuable to you.
Yeah, definitely. And it'd be a complete no-brainer, right? If I was, back in the day, I was a kid, come home from A-level and you just smash out the PlayStation. And that was exactly the reason why back in the day that me and my brother, we would subscribe to the PlayStation magazine. Because for us, that was a lot of games to get through, right? We would play all the different demos on there, try before we buy, and then we'd go out then and purchase that game if we loved it. This is that now, but for the digital age.
Exactly right. Spence, you and me been using this. Service now for a couple of weeks. Have you got any cons so far? Anything you want to see them improve on the system? And obviously, I suppose the main thing would say is PS3. Actually having it downloadable. But let's kind of skip that for the moment. Is there anything in terms of the UI or anything in there that you'd like to see improve from where it is right now?
I've been using this since I bought it, which is maybe like 2 weeks ago. And I've mostly been using it. I've skipped PS3. I've not done any streaming games because I'm not a fucking idiot. I mean, why would I immediately start streaming games? It wouldn't end well. I played PS Now with you, playing Asura's Wrath. I know how it went. The first thing I did was I downloaded Siphon Filter, but it's fucking... I'm glad that didn't win, boys. Let's just say it's shit. It's bad. I know a lot of people hate me for saying that. Shit game. Controls like arse. I've also played Ape Escape, which I am currently playing. I'm about 20% through the game, I think, in terms of the story. I've collected like 7 gadgets or 6 gadgets, and I'm fucking enjoying it. That game is so clearly just to show off the DualShock, the initial DualShock. It's so blatant for that. And you can tell you got to attack with the right stick, and the way you flick it is kind of the way you attack. And every single minigame revolves around the sticks. It's so clearly just a demonstration, but it works so well. It's actually a great game, and I'm trying to platinum it, and I don't think it'll take me long, but I'm enjoying that game a lot. That's mostly all I've done with it, other than then downloading PS4 and PS5 extra games to just kind of tick off my list, like Man and Badan. But in terms of cons, in terms of the layout and the UI and the way it functions, I actually love it. I think it's great. It fits in perfectly with the rest of PS5. And it's basically the exact same layout as your library would be, or searching on PS Plus would be, except instead of it telling you a price, it just says download now. And that's all it does. I love it. My only con, which this might just be me, a single basis, I think I've noticed slowdown on my PS5. So where I'm scrolling, I go over to PS Plus and I go down to the game catalog. I think I noticed the UI kind of scrolling and loading slower than it used to. And it might just be like a few milliseconds. It probably is, but that's the kind of shit I notice. And that's kind of the only con for me. It doesn't affect anything gameplay-wise or when I get a game, but it makes me feel like I'm back on like the PS4. And this is the PS5. This is something that should always be fast and always be snappy. And I'm noticing those slight little delays in my inputs, even just on the menu, the UI. That's my con.
That's fair. I mean, I gotta say, I haven't noticed that myself, but the biggest con for me, and the one that I'm really hoping that they put a bit of time into, and maybe the secret to this is in the app, is in the PlayStation app, but at the moment I think this is really detrimental, and it's actually something that you kind of said that you were fine with, and that's the search. The search function is a fucking joke. It's actually horrendous. You got a few different choices to go into, so you can go into all games, or you can go into limited categories. Now, me and Willard's got extra, I've got premium. And we said, right, well, what can we play co-op? You have no way of knowing if a game's co-op unless you click into the game and then look at if it's even PlayStation Network or not. So we saw Bee Simulator, and we thought, right, this will be right laugh, right? We're going to Bee Simulator. Look at it. It says 2 to 4 players. Cool. No PS Plus on there. So we're like, okay, so it's not online. So does that mean it's couch co-op? How does this work? You have no way of knowing until you go on and actually like Google search it. Why isn't there just a co-op option in there? There's action, there's fighting, there's adventure, there's all these different things. Why isn't there a multiplayer option? Why isn't there a co-op option? Why isn't there PS3 option? Why can't you specify it by platform? There's all these different things that would make finding a game really easy. And when you've got 800 odd games to go through, it becomes a pain in the arse when you're trying to find something when you don't really know what you're looking for. You know, like the same way you go on Netflix and you just scroll through, but you can go onto categories and you can find something that's kind of similar to what you want quite easily. You can't do that here. And I think they need to work on how you search quite a lot. Because you can search by the year it came out, A to Z, Z to A. Cool. Why can't I search PS3 games? Why can't I search PS2, PS1, PSP, anything like that? Does it have trophy support? I have no way of knowing. It doesn't tell me. So I booted up Mr. Driller to play with my son. I thought, oh, this would be a nice little platinum, this. No trophies. Okay. Let's download the game that can't be mentioned, Director's Cut. No trophies. Oh, okay. How do I know? I have no way of knowing unless I go on Google. And I think anytime you got that lack of information built into the actual system, that's a failure. Anytime you have to go on Google to find out basic product information, that's a failure for something that it should offer. And that's the thing that I'm hoping that when we get our next firmware update, that it's just a little quality of life change that wouldn't take much to do, just to add a better search functionality. That's the only thing I've got an issue with when it comes to this.
As much as I agree with you, because obviously I had my missus down over the weekend and I was trying to find co-op games for us to play together, and that is a massive issue. That's not an issue with the new service. That's an issue with PlayStation on a whole, because we've never had that kind of search availability. We've never been able to search in that kind of way, and we always should have been able to. Because you and I like to play co-op games all the time, Davey. And we've never been able to like strictly search for those kind of games. And that's a massive shame. This new library they've put up with PS Extra and PS Premium, yes, it's probably full of co-op games, and they don't make it easy to find them. The trophy issues, that's an issue, but that's also an issue that's existed prior to this service as well. As much as I agree with you, I think these are blatant issues and they need to be fixed. They aren't issues that came with this service. They're issues that have existed for years.
It does seem strange that these categories aren't available, because you just have to look at the back of the physical box and it has kind of information that says, is this multiplayer? Is this online co-op? You know, you have those icons already created. So why isn't that available? It seems to be quite a big oversight for me. But guys, you do have to remember that you are the day one subscribers to this service, and it's only going to improve.
That's very true. That is very true. And as I said, you know, with a firmware update or two, they can make this a lot better. You're right, Spence, though, in what you're saying. This is stuff that's been an issue in PlayStation since, year dot. But I suppose when you've got a system like this now where you've got this much choice, it's just that kind of problem gets really brought to the surface for me, and just really becomes something that, instead of it being something that I go onto the store and I'm scrolling through every now and again to find what I want, something that I don't know, now I'm on it all the time. I'm scrolling through it literally like every time I boot up my PlayStation. I'm scrolling through that list of games, thinking, oh, this sounds cool. Oh, they got this on there. I didn't know that was there. And just not having that information it's just annoying. And I suppose that's the thing. It's not like game ending or anything like that, but it's certainly an improvement that I'm hoping that they roll out over the next few months. Now, listeners, we'd love to know what you think about this. Have you upgraded to PlayStation Plus Extra? Have you gone to Premium? Are you still on Essential? Let us know. What are your thoughts on this service? Are you happy with the trophies that we've got? It was a dream for all of us, I know. Let's hear from you. pswetrust@gmail.com.
You, of course, can reach out to us on the Reddit. I'll be posting about today's episode as soon as we launch on Wednesday. And feel free to join in the conversation.
And of course, aside from those two methods, you could also reach out to us on Twitter at MPSWeTrust or any of our individual Twitter accounts. We'd always love to hear from you, whether it be to our main account or to any of our individuals. We love input. It always gives us more to talk about and more to feature on the show. So please feel free to reach out.
Let's move on to the final topic. And so for the final topic of the evening, we are talking about the news that's come out on Twitter. And this was news that broke my soul. I felt my little, you know, like when you take a canary down into a coal mine and it's like chirp, 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 and then also it's like, and it just dies, right? That happened to me reading this on Twitter. So Sucker Punch tweeted out, for now, there are no Infamous or Sly Cooper games in development. He said, we have no plans to revisit Infamous or Sly Cooper right now, and no other studio is currently working on projects related to those franchises either. God damn it, boys. God damn it. Now, guys, what I want to ask you, we're in this time at the moment where PlayStation are firing away with new franchise after new franchise, new IP, new IP, new IP all the time. Are we missing a trick by not leaning into the IP of the past? Now, I know we spoke on previous podcasts from ages ago about which IP we'd like to bring back, so we're not going to go there. But are we missing a trick here by not leaning into our back catalogue of incredible IP? Phil, what do you reckon?
For me, and I think for everybody listening, like, nostalgia is huge. Everyone loves it. I'm a video games collector. It's the reason I collect games, is so I can look back and go, oh, I remember that game that I played for an hour. Or I may have loved it, right? But when it comes to like Infamous and Sly Cooper, I'm admittedly not the biggest fans of these IPs, but it's sad to hear that they're just going to sit on that shelf and no one's going to develop a new game for them. We're not going to get a reimagining of these games. We're not going to get a new version of these games. And Sucker Punch aren't doing it, and no one else is doing it. But the most important two words in that sentence is for now. They've not completely closed it off. They're not saying that they're selling the IPs and no one's ever going to be able to use them. They're just saying for now, nothing's happening. Which is quite nice because it is an update on something that we have been speaking about. And we had it as a previous topic a couple of episodes ago. You know, what is happening with these IPs? You know, it's something people are asking, and they're just giving us an update on it at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. It is quite nice to have clarification. At least now we know when we get to our next, state of play, that I'm not going to be saying Sucker Punch, they're bringing back Infamous, At least we know now that that's not something that's going to happen. Still kick me right in the balls, though. Still terrible, terrible news. What about yourself, Spencer? Where are you coming down on this?
I mean, as we know, we've talked about it in the past, I'm the one that likes Sly Cooper on the show. I really enjoy Sly Cooper. I think they're such cool games, they're one of the original games supporting stealth elements, I find anyway, or kind of on the PlayStation. Well, I know. I know. Listen. It's a different kind of stealth, innit? It's like platformer stealth. You know what I mean? It's 3D stealth. I don't know how to word it. It's different. But that whole game's just about being a thief. And then we had... I don't want to say game spawned from it, because you boys will be like, no, it didn't start it. But it did it in a different way. And I think Sly Cooper was a big title at the time. And I understand why it's not come back, because I don't think it would do as well as it did. I really don't think it would. It was a game for kids back then, it's a game for kids now. And kids have better shit to play. They're playing Fortnite. Why would you bring it back? It won't sell well. Infamous, on the other hand, I fucking loved Infamous. It was so great until they fucking put Delsin in the game. Prior to Delsin, excellent franchise. And those first two games, beloved, phenomenal. It really, really fucking sucks that that's not coming back, especially after we've seen Returnal and what the PS5 can do with particle effects. and just kind of all those special effects you can see in the world, those in Infamous would be mind-blowing. And the fact that we're not going to see that, at least anytime soon, that is tragic. Granted, we could get it in a different form. Forspoken's got particle effects similar, I'm sure. It's got spells of all kind of variety of element. But it's a shame we're not getting like a first-party Infamous kind of thing. But it's fine. I mean, as much as I love Sly Cooper and I love Infamous, I'm fine with not getting more. We've got a lot of Infamous games, we've got a lot of Sly Cooper games, and I don't really want to revisit them. So I don't care too much about new ones, because I have more shit to play. I've already got a backlog that's huge, a future log that's huge, games that haven't even come out yet. That list is huge. If an Infamous or a Sly, well, not a Sly Cooper, if an Infamous came out, it would just fuck up my time even more, and I don't have the time. As much as I'd love it to happen, I can't afford to play it. So I'm quite happy that it's not happening.
Well, let me give you my kind of theory on what I think Sony should do, because there's a couple of different schools of thought with this, right? Now, if you think about where we've come from with PlayStation 3 into PlayStation 4, so actually we'll take it all the way back to PS2. So PS2 moving it on through the generations. By doing this kind of iteration on IPs and changing it up, it's meant that from Naughty Dog we'd be able to go from Jak and Daxter, or from Crash Bandicoot to Jak and Daxter to Uncharted to The Last of Us. Incredible, right? I don't think there's anybody in a sane mind that would say, I'd prefer to just have the next Jak and Daxter game rather than go off and do Uncharted, or to go and do Last of Us, right? When we look at Sucker Punch themselves, moving over to Ghost of Tsushima, it's fantastic. It's a great game. I was only spouting about it in the last topic. Fantastic. However, you take the other line here, and we look at, say, Nintendo. Nintendo have got a few key franchises that they base everything around. You got Mario, you got Zelda, and then you've really got kind of the spin-offs from those two, you know, in terms of like Mario Kart, Smash, you know, kind of everything else. But it's very much like a few core franchises that then they just release again, but an iteration on that on the next hardware, and it does amazingly well. We're all super excited, or most of us, for the next iteration that they do with Smash, or the next Mario, or the next Zelda. We're all going to be straight in there day one. Metroid, for God's sake. We're all like popping off for it. Can't wait for it. Now, you've also got a studio or a publisher that does the same thing as Nintendo, but does it in a bad way, and that's Ubisoft. Now, Ubisoft are in a bad way right now. They do, of course, a few franchises which they just seem to just keep putting out over and over and over and over again. They're churning it all the time to continually diminishing results. And those are obviously Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six, and Watch Dogs, right? Those three things seem to come up all the fucking time, and Rabbids from Ubisoft. And because of the fact that, because of this, they're just not doing well financially. Ilse Gaumont, the guy who runs Ubisoft, has had to take a massive pay cut because of the fact they're having a disappointing financial year. I mean, we got the article here actually. Spence, have you got the amount that he's had to take a pay cut for?
327,000.
Jesus Christ! So taking a big pay cut there, and that's what happens if you don't iterate, right? So it's a very delicate thing to go down. Now, this is my theory on what I wish PlayStation would do to be able to honor its past, but to also give us these brand new experiences. We've been very much on a case of buying up teams. We're in this kind of war, I suppose, with Xbox in terms of buying up publishers and buying up different teams and creating brand new teams out of nowhere and blah, 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 blah. It's a never-ending cycle of just buying up content so nobody else can get it. So my idea, the way they could go about this, to be able to honor what they've done in the past, but also still carve forward with brand new IPs from their studios that want to do something new. You know, their Gorillas, their Naughty Dogs, you know, whatever they want to see, their Sucker Punches, whatever they want to do and reinvent, you know, what a new AAA game can do. They should still be able to have that creative freedom because it's worked for them in the past. However, these new teams they got in, like Firesprite, who they've got them working on a brand new FPS game. Why aren't they looking at what PlayStation already has in their back catalogue? We got Killzone there. We got Resistance. And say, why don't we just do another one of those, but make it our own? Bring that back. Why don't we get somebody who wants to work on a brand new AAA game and outsource it to them and say, why don't you work on our new Infamous for us? Brilliant. You know, the same way that we were super chuffed off the bit when Marvel said, yes, you can have the Spider-Man license and just go crazy with it, right? Do whatever you want to do. And Insomniac were the best team to have that, and they really made it their own. We've got some IP as part of our history that are iconic IP. Why couldn't we license them out to some other ex-devs related studios or some new studios we build in to make these a reality so our prime teams can still continue to work on the IP that to challenge their creativity? That's the thing that just doesn't make any goddamn sense to me. I just do not get it. Like Phil said, nostalgia is key. And if you can bring back something that is going to hype everyone up at an E3, it's a win-win. People are going to be frothing at the gash to see what Firesprite work on. We will, yes, the hardcore. But is the casual person going to really care what this new project is? Probably not. Whereas if it was a Killzone game, I bet you it's going to get way more press, going to get way more eyes on it. It just makes no sense to me. No goddamn sense at all.
I think we've said this in the past, though. You know, getting kind of an unknown team to work on a beloved IP, you just lessen the risk, right? Because if you're coming back with a known IP, with the known developer, the expectations are super high. But if you're coming in and you're like, well, we're going to give these guys a try, you know, they're new to the family, we're going to give them this IP, then the expectations are slightly lower, so they can make mistakes, but then they can also push the barriers a little bit. They can go out on a limb and try new things, and that's where innovation lives.
Yeah, definitely. I think you've got to keep a close eye on it, right? You don't want it to be a case that you sully something that's always had a storied past. It's obviously going to have tight reins put on it. But if there's one thing that's been proven from Sony's track record is that they do have a tight rein on their studios. They've got a quality bar that so far hasn't really dipped this console generation. I mean, the lowest game so far that I can think of is Sackboy's Big Adventure, right? That's probably the worst one so far. And even that was a decent game. It was like a 70% on Metacritic. Give them something really meaty they can dive into. Fucking Colony Wars, man. Just literally, there's so many fucking games that I could just think off the top of my head that we could really just do with seeing again. Infamous, of course, would be in my top 3, without a shadow of a doubt. That would be a game that would be a dream come true for me. Honestly, I just don't get it. I mean, well, people read the same shit every single year from Nintendo. There's the same franchises over and over and over again. And we've got to go like 15 odd years before we even remotely get wind of something going on from a game that's beloved in the past. And the only games we seem to get sequels to are God of War and The Last of Us. And GT. That's it. The brand's been out now for 25, 26 years. Bring some of it back. Get Housemarque working on something else. They're on about doing a brand new IP. Cool. They're a perfect team that you could really stretch them and say, right, you make really good, arcadey style, great gameplay. Why not dip back into the well? Bring back Dead Nation 2. Bring back something that, for the really hardcore PlayStation fans, they'd be like, yes, really excited over. I just don't know. I just don't get it. Am I just wishful thinking here, or is there something I'm missing here?
I think it's just a case of, as much as I agree with you boys, and I think it makes so much more sense to bring back, not to say dead IP, but probably dead IP, just games we haven't seen in a long time, and games that everyone wants to just have a resurgence. I feel like it's so much safer for Sony to just make a strong new IP, rather than rely on the strength of an old IP and potentially diminish it. I feel like they have a lot more creativity in making new IP. They can do exactly whatever they want. They can make it whatever they want, whatever setting they want, make it play however they want. It could be set for whoever they want. If they're following the standard of an old IP. If they're making a sequel to an old IP, it has to be within that IP's limits, and they have to do it to perfection if it's a legacy IP, such as the ones you mentioned, such as the ones from the past, such as like Killzone, Resistance, the games we want. They would have to smash it out the park, and they know that. They'd have to blow us the fuck away, and anything less of that would diminish the strength that those IPs hold. So I think in Sony's case, in PlayStation's case, it's just a much safer game to just make a new IP.
So from your point of view, Spencer, you would just rather not have these IPs exist. You know, there's lots of game series that Davey sort of touched on here. You would rather them just sit in kind of oblivion for 10, 15, 20 years now and never get picked up. You wouldn't want a new edition by a slightly unknown developer, which of course Sony is keeping an eye on. You would just say, rather than just try something brand new.
I would say focus on new stuff until you have a team you feel capable of bringing justice to that IP. Until you have a development studio that you know can give that IP the treatment it deserves and give it a sequel equal or preferably greater than the past games in that franchise. And that's what they need to do. And I think that probably is what they're trying to do, but probably not, because the issue is, I think they get new studios. So, like, they get Insomniac. And Insomniac could probably smash out any game thrown at them. Probably anything. They do an exceptional job. However, then they made Spider-Man. And it's like, oh, well, Spider-Man's fucking fantastic. It's giving us gangbuster numbers. Are we going to put them on something else? Fuck no. They're going to make us Marvel games. Because it'd be stupid of us to do anything else. And then Sucker Punch makes Ghost of Tsushima. Everyone loves Ghost of Tsushima. Am I going to put them on their old IP? Fuck no. Let's keep them making that. Or let's have them making DLC or a PS5 patch, a director's cut. Let's have them working on a future project similar to that game, or maybe a sequel. I think it's a case of they need to test their worth by having them do a new IP. But the issue is the studios they're buying are too goated. They're too cracked. Because they're releasing a new IP to test their worth. That IP is phenomenal, and then it makes more financial sense for them to carry on working on that IP than to revisit the IP from the past. And that is the big issue.
I think that's a really good point. You know, they're kind of slaves to their success. As you said, you know, if it was a case that the Naughty Dog, they tried Uncharted, it didn't work, they'd be right back on the Crash. They'd be right back on, you know, Jack. They would have done. But it just turned out that Uncharted was fucking goated. Same with The Last of Us, right? I fully get that. I think it's just a case of, it would just be nice, I suppose. It would just be really nice for me to know that some of these games from an old school PlayStation fan, that they know that we care about them. And I don't want them to sit in this just dormant state for years and years and years, where I'm just hoping and praying that one day I'll be able to go back and see some of my favorite characters and see what they're up to and see their worlds really expanded upon. Everyone does remakes. I don't want remakes all the time. I don't want goddamn remakes of, you know, like every single game out the sun. I want brand new games in that world, in that ecosystem. The groundwork's there. I don't need to go back and see Cole's first adventure on Infamous 1 again. I want Infamous 3. A proper Infamous 3. You know, not Delsin's fucking shitty adventure. I want brand new experiences that are already there, that I can just slip on like an old glove and just get knee deep up in it, you know, just reach like a cow, you know, straight in the ass. That's what I want. But unfortunately, I think I'm just wishful thinking, lads.
I think the main issue is, I think it is wishful thinking, but I don't think the developers disagree with you. I think they have the same stance as you. They probably love to work on their past IP, the things that gave them their legacy, but they can't. They just can't. If they're first party working for Sony, Sony's not going to let them go back to Jak and Daxter, like Naughty Dog. They're not going to be like, yeah, if you want to do a Jak and Daxter game, yeah, crack on. They're going to be like, no, are you fucking stupid? Make Last of Us free. What the fuck are you doing?
How many people do you think worked on Jack and Daxter still work on the newer games? I think studios change quite a lot. I think the churn's probably quite high when it comes to developers. You know, ultimately you might have some big names within the studio, and they're the ones you're looking towards for the direction of the game. But when it comes to the vast majority of them, they would have never touched these IPs. So it's almost like you're giving it to a new studio if you revisited them.
Definitely. And there's bound to be people that have come in to the ecosystem now who the game that they loved, you know, was Jack, or it was Resistance, whatever it was. And that's the game that they adored. And I just think there's bound to be somebody who, if this IP was offered out, kind of auctioned out the same way that, you know, like Marvel have done or Disney are doing with their, I suppose the same company, but with their licenses, right? Surely to God, there's some studio that would say, do you know what, we'll take that challenge. And if the game's turning out to be bollocks, then you just don't release it. You just chalk that up as a loss and you rethink your strategy. But there's bound to be teams out there that would love to have a crack at some of these classic IP. And I think PlayStation they're just missing out on a trick to be able to get some second party or third party exclusivity rights on these games by using their IP and leveraging it from these studios that want work and are happy to put the work in and have some relationships with XDev or be micromanaged to a certain extent by Santa Monica, like they used to do in their old role before they went straight up just into full-on God of War development. And who knows?
Imagine you're a game dev, you've grown up, and your favourite series is Infamous, and you manage to start your own company or join a fledgling company, and then you get to work on that IP. You're going to put every bit of effort, every bit of creativity into making that game what you've dreamt about for years. Why wouldn't you hand it out to almost fans of the series, but developers, right? I'm not talking the general public, I'm talking game studios, but they've got to be passionate about these IPs, right? They've got to show some history. They've got to show some love for these. And as you're saying, it's still got to get through, you know, the company that owns them. They're never going to put out a bad version of their game.
Yeah, exactly. You get meetings all the time when you're doing game development, and they got to hit certain goals, they got to hit certain things to make sure they get their funding and kind of everything else. There's so many different checks and balances to stop them releasing something that's total gash. I think this is just, for me, this would be the dream. But maybe we're talking too much sense, and this is PlayStation after all, and they can't even get the search function right on their console. So who the fuck knows if this is actually going to be something that they do. But hopefully, maybe they'll listen to this podcast and they'll take some hints and tips from it, and they'll come to me and they'll say, Davey, do you want to work on Resistance? And I'll say, no, I don't, because all it would be just a massive dick and me just noshing off that chimera all day long. Because that's all I want to do. I just want to be impregnated and spawn all these chimera off myself. That's all I want to do. Good God, just fuck me up with it. Can't wait. Listeners, what are your thoughts on this? Would you want to see classic IP return? Or are you quite happy with PlayStation going the approach they have been going the last few years or the last decade or so in terms of just fulfilling their creativity and going off and exploring new worlds? Let us know. Write into the email, pswetrust@gmail.com. Now, just before we end the show, it's important to note a couple of different things here. First off, speaking of old games and classic IP we're bringing back, our spoiler cast from the past vote has come to an end. And the winner is Half-Life.
It's me again. I have won. It is Half-Life.
Yes, so Half-Life won. So great result, Phil. That's a fantastic result for you. So we will be playing that. That will be out by the end of the month. We will have that done. So we've got a couple of weeks to get this played. It is the PS2 version, unfortunately. So we'll see how that holds up. But that episode should be out in a few weeks' time. So we look forward to that. And finally, from me, a big thank you for the support that we've had over the last couple of videos on YouTube. Our YouTube audience is growing. We are on the drive for 100 subs because if any experience from my own YouTube is to be taken into account, 100 subs, it really starts kind of taking care of itself. The first 100 is really, really difficult. We can see from analytics that half of you who listen to the podcast are not subscribed to us. So please click that subscribe button, ring that bell. It all helps us. And if you really want to go the extra mile, put a like on it and put a comment on the YouTube video. Even if you listen to us on Spotify or any other platforms, great. I really appreciate you all putting your reviews on. We're pushing for our YouTube at the moment to try and get up from 60 where we are now and drive it up to 100. So any support you can give us, really, really grateful if you can put a like and a comment on there, let alone subscribe and ring the bell. It really, really, really makes a big difference to us. But that's enough of me shilling for you to do the things that I ask you to do. But please do them, otherwise you're just a bit of a pussy, really. That's been it for episode 46 of In PS We Trust, a PlayStation podcast. Now, I've been Davey.
I've been Phil.
And I've been Spencer.
Take care, guys.
Peace, 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 peace.
In PS We Trust is hosted by Davey, Phil, and Spencer. You can write into the show via our email, pswetrust@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @InPSWeTrust. To find each of us online, follow our Twitters, @SSJDavey, @PhilipHoy, @SpenPie_. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. See ya.